final.
Yeah.
If everybody could use my proper pronouns, which is Anglos are gay, during the stream, that would be great. Thank you.
Nice. All right, so
Anglos are gay, Blitz, and then we ask you a
I
question.
expect at least one of you Anglos to occasionally throw in a kind of Sargon-esque laugh.
Yes, I expect really like
Sargon.
sniggering that.
Ordnung muss sein. All right. Ordnung muss sein.
Do you feel entitled to our audience?
Right, lads. Okay.
Yep.
So, can someone post the link while I introduce? Can you do it, Phineas, maybe?
Where is the link?
Oh, you
And
can.
where should I post it?
Well, everywhere.
This is fucking continental efficiency right here, isn't it?
Continentals were here first. I mean, I managed to get ready before you did. So.
Yeah, no, fucking Google Hangouts was it's anti-Anglo prejudice. Google Hangouts wouldn't let me fucking in.
Okay, all right. So, hello to everybody. This is the official Europa Weekly BLOODSPORTS first episode, and today we're going to discuss the Anglo question. On one of the previous episodes of Europa Weekly, we decided to address the Anglo question, and it kind of started a nice, lively debate in our comment section. And so we thought we had tapped into some unknown area of knowledge, and so we decided to finally address it once and for all by having actual Europeans discuss with Anglos about the merits of their race.
One European, a Mongolian, and a potato nigger.
Yeah, quote unquote Europeans and Anglos. And so let me introduce you to the panel. So on the European side, we have Blitz, who's Finnish. We have Phineas, who's Irish. And we have Faust, who's Dutch. And
I am the divine Germanic. Thank you very much. Respect my pronouns.
Okay. And on the Anglo side, we have Final, Horatio, and James. And James is not even real Anglo, but we have to deal with what we have. And so it's not going to be a very formal debate, but I'm sure it's going to be great. And of course, I'm going to be the impartial moderator. We're
In BLOODSPORTS, you need an impartial Frenchman. He's the JF of Europa Weekly.
Yeah, discount JF. Yeah. I don't even have a PhD, but so apparently people wanted to start with the opening statements. So if you have one of those, you can go ahead and have your opening statement.
All right, my opening statement is a quote from somebody called I don't know if you've heard of him, called Jonathan Bowden, and it's very simple. It's 3 words. We're not sorry.
All right.
And I suppose my opening statement for that would be, we're not sorry, right? Apologizing for winning the wars of the world by the agreed upon rules is like saying sorry for winning the World Cup. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
And secondly, maybe we'll get into this, but it has been, the perfidious Albion for centuries, at least since 1707. Right, so maybe this eternal Anglo debate should really be a perfidious Albion debate. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So
Is there a difference?
Yes, there is.
For my opening statements, I'd like to start with saying that Europa Weekly are intellectually dishonest. They argue in bad faith. They rely on straw men and ad hominem attacks against Anglos. And they use Knight's chess move logic rather than facing points straight on. They avoid arguments by changing topics when an Anglo brings up a salient point that they cannot refute. Europa Weekly are the skeptics of the alt-right. Now, my point, I'm going to start by BTFOing your countries, then proceed to defend the Anglos from your criticisms, and then finally explain why the UK will be the birth of the restoration. So to begin with, apologies for attacking our dear moderator here. But France started all this liberal shit when it rejected its monarch, Louis XVI, who was a good man and had faith in God, and he wanted the best for the French people. You killed him, and as well as fucking your own country, French liberalism, republicanism, equality, and the rejection of the natural order has been spread from the French for this. Phineas, Ireland, we've done everything we can for Ireland.
I want to endorse this message about the French.
Good.
We also got civic nationalism from the French. Don't forget, the French Revolution is the birth.
Hang on, guys. Let me finish. Let me get all this out there and take notes, and then we can address these one by one. So, Phineas, for Ireland, I have to say that we Anglos, we've done everything we can for Ireland. We tried to free you from the Catholic ghetto and show you true Christianity in the form of the Church of England. But when it became clear that the Irish are just going to continue to be ungrateful and obstinate, we allowed them to have their own country in full knowledge that you're going to fuck it up, and that we would have to that at some point in the future, we're going to have to step in and pick up the broken pieces. And as expected, Ireland has elected a homosexual Panjit and is importing infinity black people, legalizing gay marriage, and is about to legalize abortion. My expectation is that when this all comes crashing down, Ireland will be begging the UK to rejoin, and we will let you, but you're going to have to acknowledge that. With Barbu and Blitz, I'm very glad that you're thinking a lot about Anglos, because we don't think about you at all. Now, to defend the Anglos, I have to say, were the Anglos ever tricked by the Jews throughout history? Yes, just as everyone else has. Did we do immoral things and participate in wars against Euros because of Jewish tricks? Yes. We're sorry. Let's leave it at that. Now,
wait, you did say you weren't going to be sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm not sorry about that.
Hang on. So, final point.
The Jew apologist shows his true colors. I see.
We were the first. Hang on, guys. We were the first nation to rebel against Zog. We were the first nation in our moves towards Brexit. We have Nige and we have Jacob Rees-Mogg, and we're going to go for a top-down restoration led by the old aristocrats. So now that I've completed my points, I will hand the floor back to whoever's next.
All right, some pretty serious allegations. Who wants to respond?
Well, he didn't mention my people, the Dutch, the Germans, the Germanic peoples of Europe, which, because of the deception and trickery of the Anglo, has remained disunited even to this day. To this day, the Dutch, the Flemish, the Austrians, the Schweizer Deutsche, and Germany itself remain disunited through Anglo trickery. And they've kept this policy of dividing the continent up for centuries. Before it was Prussia and Austria, they played out against each other, and they kept Bavaria as their little corner on importance. If it weren't for the Anglo, the Germanic peoples would be united.
Oh, Faust just
he's
dropped out.
gone.
I think he overloaded on bullshit and he was automatically expelled from the Google Hangout. I can respond to this before he gets back.
No. My turn.
Whoa! Hold on there, Paddy. Hold on there. Those are some serious allegations there against my people. I want to reiterate what James said, which is we engaged in enacting our own interests in an era in which every single European country did not have this modern idea of a united Europe. I think we're past the point where it's profitable to fight amongst each other. But back in those days, every European country would fight for their own interests against another. And it was in our interest to have the continent disunited. To have 100 million Germans under one state would be fucking awful for... bit of background noise there, Faust.
Yes.
Like, it would be fucking awful, not just for the British, not just for the British race, it would be awful for the continent, because what does Germany do when it unites? It tries to take over the entire fucking continent.
And
Yes,
I'd like to provide
but that
just
would be
one-
better for everyone.
Yeah, and I would like to rebut the Germanic leadership has always been more benign than British leadership in Europe's history. How many?
What about now?
It still is, because we know what a liberal shithole Britain is.
Is Merkel
The
benign?
EU, I would say,
Merkel
compared to
is
the
not.
British. Yeah, compared to the British. Yes.
Did we take in like shit tons of?
Did she say literally the entire third world could pour into Germany and go through every single
No.
country
She just
on the way?
copied your immigration policy. That's just what they did. And if Britain would lead the EU, it would be 10 times worse.
We don't
because
want to leave
Anglo
the EU. We
is-
want nothing to
is-
do with you.
No, I'm just saying as a hypothetical that German leadership is more benign compared to Anglo, because even Germany at its worst is better than England at its best.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
so I want
just think
Stunned,
about-
like, no response.
By what measure is Germany better?
Well, let's see.
Autism. We are much more advanced at autism, engineering.
I'd say you're different. I don't think Germany is as innovative. Perhaps better at
No,
some
it's-
kinds of engineering, but it's not as innovative as
It's
the British.
definitely more
Precisely,
innovative.
British design firms outperform German ones. In a sustained way.
Like
Whilst the
when I
engineers
think
of
British,
Germany is
when I
better
think British
regulated
engineering,
and larger and more, it secures
When
more
I-
of the market in general. But I do actually agree with you though. Between the Dark Ages of, at least around 466 with Clovis, or at least from the reign of Otto the First in 912, until about the early modern period, let's say like until 1683, right? The aim of all the German kings and all the Holy Roman emperors, as well as the church, was to consolidate Europe into a single political entity, with the church and the empire being the leading institutions, right? And we've always had to fight against that. So this is sort of the precedent for this sort of this greater Germany that you're talking about. And there's a great quote from an old TV show, and it's spot on as far as I'm concerned. I actually agree with you, Faust. Britain has had the same foreign policy objective for at least the last 500 years, to create a disunited Europe. In that case, we fought with the Dutch against the Spanish, with the German against the French, with the French against the Italians, and with the French and Italians against the Germans, and with the French and the Germans against the Italians.
Bro, you got to attack them more.
Right?
This is Bloodsports. It's boring.
Truth is boring, apparently.
but also, if you look at the Renaissance, for instance, under the Habsburg sort of their attempt to dominate Europe, Charles V owned like half of Europe and South America and all the rest of it. We managed to support the French in their war against Charles V under Henry VIII, and under his daughter Queen Elizabeth. Obviously, we prevented Philip's claim on England through his marriage to Bloody Mary, and we obviously ended that with the Spanish Armada, presenting for the first time the Albionic ability at naval defense that would later
it's called Storms.
Empire.
Yeah, you got defended by fucking Poseidon there, mate. You didn't do shit.
Excuse me. It was English magic. It was God.
It was actually the race-built galleon. It was the first ship that was designed by scientific methods rather than rule of thumb.
Well, let's say the Spanish had landed the army of Flanders in Kent or wherever it is they were going to land it from Gravelines. The entire English population would have just, this is getting into very weedy specifics, but the basic fact on the Spanish Armada is even had they managed to land, I think they would have been repelled.
There would have been a rifle between every blade of grass, as the Americans would like to say.
Sure.
No.
Yeah.
When the Dutch
on the beaches.
When the Dutch landed in 1689, we took over and we held on to power until 1714.
Until 1702 was the death of William of Orange.
Then his wife ruled.
Yeah, but Anne wasn't Dutch, was she?
Anne was English. She was a Stuart.
Yeah, well, technically, the William of Orange was 3/4 Anglo anyway.
Well,
that's kind of the thing. That's kind of the thing. The Anglo. Let me tell you the story of how the Anglo infiltrated our royal house. They married into our royal house. Then, when they got a chance, they immediately moved over, took the throne of England. And what happened after William became King of England? He fucked over the Dutch Navy. He invested all of his money and resources into the British Navy and neglected the Dutch provinces. And from that point onward, the British started eclipsing the Dutch. Another example of Anglo trickery.
All right, Faust. Let's wait for a bit. Apparently, Phineas is butt mad because I didn't let him make his opening statement. So go ahead, pal.
All right. The Jew, the female, the child, the wild animal, the Anglo. All of these, on a cursory examination, have the same property, or appear to have the same property. Biblical innocence. Anglos are not immoral, they are amoral. They are not capable of discerning right from wrong. Moreover, Anglos, as they have no conscience, are incapable of examining their own actions. And this is where the difficulty with Anglos emerges. Anglos pride themselves on being an empirical society, a society of laws rather than men. Yet a cursory examination of their history reveals that the second this is in any way inconvenient, it is disregarded. As such, all attacks on Anglos made so far are fundamentally futile, as Anglos are not capable of examining their own conscience.
Here.
The Anglo, with its obsession with numbers and empiricism, has unleashed abominations on the world. And not only that, he is incapable of contemplating his own atrocities. Consider the 4-engine bomber, or the first-rate ship of the line. Anglo abominations. Or perhaps consider the Irish potato famine or the Indian famine, where rather than be honest and engage in if nothing else, a somewhat respectable campaign, they engage in economic maneuverings, which rather than directly killing tens of thousands of innocent people, they simply cowered behind the cosmopolitanism and liberalism and whatever trendy guiding political philosophy of the day to say, it's not that we want tens of thousands of innocent people dead, it's that our worldview implies tens of thousands of dead. And that is the Anglo problem. Anglos fundamentally are liars. They do not have a law-based society. They are the same as any other European. The only thing that is unique about them is their extreme dishonesty. And it is their extreme dishonesty, and it makes them very practiced at verbal and algebraic manipulations. And this is the source of their economic power.
All right.
Inspiring. I'm wiping a tear off my cheek right now.
I think he might actually have a point there. I mean, this is what this Anglo obsession with empiricism can do. It's like we've just heard about, this is how I think empiricism is actually.
Bro, stop cucking.
I think that this is I think the Anglos.
Bro, have you not seen Bloodsports before? Just attack him or change the subject to something.
The Celt shows his true colours. He's attacking the Anglo. Stabbed in the back, man.
No, I was actually in the middle of saying that I think this is actually the Anglo's greatest contribution to humanity, in that we can actually discern the truth of things through it. Like, for instance, William of Orange, right? He didn't drain he didn't drain Holland of money and pay for the new British Navy. He in fact hired an army of around 45,000 for the Battle of the Boyne, for instance, in which he had essentially cashed in all of his direct access to any money as King of England, and actually had to create the national debt by borrowing money against itself to pay for the rest of the army. So far from draining Holland of money for England, he seems to have drained England for his own ends toward creating a mercenary army to crush the Catholics in Ireland.
Well, but is that something that doesn't benefit the British?
Well, no, because it meant that we.
Crushing the Irish is fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad the Dutch got their own little hand in there, but it's for the interest of the Brits that they crushed them.
I don't know what ruling Ireland has really done for Britain apart from give us some timber for the Royal Navy. I can't really think of much benefit we've got, and sailors.
We were only ruling Ireland to try and help the Irish. We were being the good
as
guys.
I said, the Anglos are innocent, or rather satanic.
Well, in fact, that's not
bad things. They are unable to.
We let the Irish rule themselves, and then 75 years later, Panjit homosexualists are in charge of the country. Like,
let's not forget. Let's not forget who actually took over Ireland. Who actually invaded Ireland? It wasn't English. It was the Normans. And I know I often go on this Norman narrative, and I'm not saying it was everything bad ever done by Britain was done by Normans. But there is nothing inherent about the English that sees us be aggressive to the Welsh or the Scots. That all happened when Normans came to power. The Kingdom of Mercia and Wales, for instance, and Welsh kingdoms, Gwynedd, they fought the Normans together. There is. How
do you explain your constant aggression against these peaceful Danish settlers?
Danish settlers. Hang on, yeah. What, the sea chaps? Yeah.
I think it's important to note that Anglo is a mental disorder, not a racial one.
Yeah, I think. How do you explain Athelstan's II's conquest of Cornwall and attempts to conquer Scotland?
Well, I'm not saying there was never an attempt to conquer. I'm not saying that there was never any conquests among the English and the native Celts. That's not my argument. I mean, they just weren't as effective at it in a way. But I think there was an insertion of a continental kind of more expansionist feudal doctrine that came with the arrival of the Normans into England.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that in the case of Ireland and Scotland, the Normans were quite beneficial for the countries.
I still think you have to justify your crimes against the Danish people.
Such as?
Well, like I said, they were peaceful settlers and you attacked them and massacred them.
Are you talking about the Danelaw? Then they
Yes.
the Great Heathen Army.
Do you mean
They were no Great Heathen Army. That is Anglo propaganda. They were peaceful settlers. They were fleeing a
Viking is
life
just
of
Old Norse
persecution.
for raider. Like,
Yeah.
No, those
Just
were Anglo
scenario,
colonists.
that's true.
They were peaceful colonists. They were refugees fleeing from the circumstances in Denmark.
So you think we should let people who flee to? So you're saying that fucking Syrian refugees have a right to live in fucking Holland? Then do they?
No,
they're
I
fleeing
think
war.
what he's saying is that it's typical of the Anglo to attack white people coming into their country, but letting in brown people.
More white people.
Yeah. I think that's very a trademark trait of the Anglo. I also wanted I've not really made much of a statement here today, but I wanted to set up my sort of argument here is that we basically divide Europe into two castes. We have the Anglo and we have white people, and we want to see what good has the Anglo done for white people? Is the collective actions of the Anglo a net positive or net negative? And we do find, when we examine this, just as Dr. William Luther Pierce said, that the Anglos are our misfortune. They have time and time again put brother against brother. They've inflated conflict. They've incited hatred, and they've always come down on the weaker part, just to massacre more and more Europeans. In fact, the death count of the Anglo rivals that of communism in Europe. When it comes to the Germans killed in after the war, because they couldn't kill Germans during the war except for civilians mostly. The Boers killed millions because they just didn't, because there was shekels to be had. So of course we had to mass murder those people. Then it's the Irish, of course, and might I add as a caveat that it is a blessing from God that it was the Irish and the Finns that, and not the Finns that lived next to the British Isles, because if the British had tried to pull that shit on the Finns, then by the second year of the Troubles, the Parliament would be a smoldering crater if English had tried that on the Finns back then. But I digress. Everywhere the Anglo go, they only reap death and destruction for their own profit. And you see that it's the same motive every time is profit. It's shekels, thinly disguised as some sort of rational approach, because it's always trying to legitimize their own destructive behavior. So when you see this from a white person's perspective, you can just see that the Anglo always comes with death and destruction. And I want to hear a case made for what good have they done for us.
It's quite funny to hear the front thing
For
white.
themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
everything.
the invention of basically everything ever comes to mind.
Basically, I think most of that was Dutch or German engineering or French.
Not really.
I don't see like everything from the car to the computer. I don't see the British really being.
Well, we did invent the
overrepresented.
computer for one. I mean that.
The internet, yeah.
Railways.
Yeah, is this the British we was? Did you build the pyramids?
No, you can Google this. A great book on
You was
inventions, etc.
inventors and shit. You was inventors. You did all that shit. We went to the moon. It's a Union Jack on the moon. Is that what you're gonna tell me next?
No, but we're just saying things.
This is all verifiable. You can just Google it. And also, a great book on this is Human Accomplishment by Charles Murray. It's a great book for an accurate representation.
Charles Murray.
Blitz. Do you have a problem with Anglos in their current form with what they're doing with leaving the EU, or is it just a historic issue that you've got?
No, it's mostly a historic. It's not actually very much for them leaving. I think definitely that the British should always stay out of European politics, no matter what government they have.
I would say I'm going to kind of cut here a bit, but I mean essentially the Anglos or the British, they were controlled by a satanic force up until the switch over from the empire to the American empire.
Yeah,
and America has essentially taken that position now. So I will concede that we did a lot of fucked up shit, but we had Jews in our head essentially. Like,
I don't think it's anything inherent to our nature that the British Empire was wielded against the interest of the European. I don't think that you can demonstrate that.
I think it's more perverse than that. I mean, like, about the blood factories that you guys have.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The Aryan blood factories, like you bombed Dresden to harvest blood, to get to the...
Well, I mean, it's not our fault that Dresden happens to be built on top of a wellspring of Aryan blood. It's not my fault. It just happens to be on a massive, underground source of Aryan blood. Like, what are we going to do?
Well, you could have got a trade deal.
No. Gunboat diplomacy, my neighbor.
All right. I have to ask a question.
The thirst for Aryan blood of the Anglo is just eternal. That's where the eternal Anglo comes from.
Well, you're telling a vampire not to be a vampire. I mean, what are we going to do?
No, what seriously though? What have we done recently? Like, we've been pretty tame.
Like my recent...
They're funding abortion and gay marriage campaigns in Ireland.
Oh!
They're spreading sodomy all over the world.
Red pill me on this. I've not heard this.
There is Bupa, for example, are currently running ads in Irish newspapers saying, "Until your government looks after your rights as a woman to choose, we'll do it for you." England
that's just
is
a company trying to make money.
Pot factory.
That's just Bupa trying to make money. That's not
typical Anglo.
But are you saying so? Is the entire pro-abortion campaign in Ireland run by English people then?
Very nearly. It's actually amazing. The amount of fucking Erstabrooks and McKinnocks and also just gibberish Irish names with Muck and O put before them is astonishing.
Yeah, that's Irish names.
Sure thing, Mr. Gorman.
If it's an Anglo thing, wouldn't you expect the Anglo-Scot settlers in Ulster to be sort of even more cucked? But actually, gay marriage is actually illegal there and it's legal in the Republic. So wouldn't that sort of suggest the reverse?
Gay marriage is illegal among Ulster Scots because they have literally no theory of mind, which means they are incapable of being peer pressured.
Oh, okay, right. So, right, gotcha.
So more just so stories as to...
It's not a just so story. I mean, have you read the Irish chat? It's quite clear in the Faust server. It's actually quite clear that only Irish people seem to have a reliable faculty of theory of mind. Yeah. Faust ironically believes
anybody on that server can prove that just by
rules on Ireland to turn Ireland gay.
Those guys actually.
Do you really want to talk about the behavior of the Irish on there?
Yeah, can we shift things maybe on to focus on the Irish, because you can make a case that the involvement of the English in finance is something that you could fault us for. Perhaps you can make that case, but a lot of media, if you look through a great deal of media which is perverse and anti-European, you will find a lot of mucks and a lot of O's. There is a lot of... The Gael is a very cucky creature. I don't think you can understate that. I think that's definitely the case. You look at some of the most posed areas and some of the worst fucking white people in America. They're from around Boston. There's this whole phenomenon of the mass hole, which is this Irishman. This sort of archetype of the Irishman.
Well, as I stated initially, liberal. Anglo is a mental disorder, not a racial one.
Well, what are you talking about then? Because then why did you get English people on then if it's completely disconnected from the
it's a mental disorder. It's your race. It's a disease that's common in your race.
Oh, okay.
This is anthropology 101.
Okay, then that's completely unfalsifiable. Then your entire claim is unfalsifiable if it's just something you can apply to sometimes the English race and sometimes not.
Behavior. You're sounding like some race isn't real because I played chess with Sargon's grandfather.
You just said that being an Anglo is something not racial. I'm not denying a race.
It's a trait highly common to races, and if among this given race, which are called Anglos, though they're not Anglos,
called the English. They're called the fucking. We just dropped the word Anglo. Thank you.
Call the English. However, if you were to adopt a proper worldview based on agrarianism, Roman Catholicism, you will see eventually this mental disorder will cure itself, and you will no longer be Anglo in the derogatory.
No, they have become Irish, and they have an entirely different mental disorder.
No, we need to re-embrace.
I got a question for
Native
everyone on the
European
panel
spirit.
except for Phineas, and the Anglos. If you could choose between being Irish or Anglo, what would you choose to blitz Pusher and yeah?
That's a hard question.
It's like asking, do you want to be gay or retarded? Like, rather, preferably neither.
Yeah. But if I'd have to choose, I suppose I'd become an Irishman, because then I could flee to the Americas and pretend to be something else.
Is that not something an Englishman can do?
No, everybody can smell you a mile away.
Of course. Yeah.
I do think this this idea that both Anglos and Irish appear to be some kind of a mental disorder from the outside European, perspective, I think just sort of demonstrates the fact of the matter. Really, just never the twain shall meet seems best.
They're just bot mad. It's that simple. They're just bot mad.
It's very good that you're on an island so that you can. I mean, I think that's the reason why you became the way you are, is that you've been isolated from the continent for so long that you've developed to become like this.
Dude, the Irish are far more isolated than the English.
Yes, I know,
No,
but they're a
totally.
different kind of different. I mean, you're kind of like gay different. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, okay, I'm gonna throw you a bone, and I'm gonna make some sort of like really. I'm gonna go on sort of an explanation. Do you know how like all the European peoples that were the most successful during history had the biggest empires and the greatest wealth, like the Germans, the French, the British? Today it seems that the more successful they were, the more liberal the mindset of the average Joe in those countries is. You see that the average German is extremely liberal, so is the French, but nowhere else do I see so liberal sentiment expressed so vigorously as the common Brit, who is always ready out there to say how sorry he is for colonialism and how terrible racism is, and always ready to counter.
You honestly
No,
think that's
it's
more
worse
than
in
like-
German.
I think that no. Seeing like this has been my experience. It's why I started to read and get woke on the Anglo question. Is my experience with a lot of European youths, and you see that a common trait amongst Swedes and Germans is that they are extremely afraid of authority, and they will always be sort of like they will fall in line with what the authority tells them to believe. It's sort of like their liberalism is external and it's forced upon them, whereas the Anglo, for them, it seems that the liberalism comes from within them, from the depth of the void where their heart should be. That's where it comes from. They're true believers in what they say. They honestly believe in all of this extremely leftist dogma.
Well,
I
then
just
that
wonder
shows that
why
we do
that
have a
is.
theory of mind. Well, then that contradicts Phineas's point, because that shows that the continental is just something.
No, I
it's
say
just-
Anglo
no,
liberalism comes from the devil.
Hold on. Fucking hell. That shows that the continental is just something which you can just program and install a certain ideology on without thinking. Whereas we have actually the ability to internalize things, and at the moment we have internalized something wholly negative. But yes, perhaps we do have an innate nature towards individualism. I don't think that's an entirely bad thing. I think that created an enormous amount of wonderful things.
Yeah, and
So
today
you're saying Sargon was right?
Yeah, exactly. That
No.
I'm just meaning that today.
No, I'm not
that
saying
individualism.
I want to be clear.
Let
I'm
me
not
speak.
saying individualism as an abrogation of ethnic self-consciousness. I don't think the two necessarily go together. And I also don't think that individualism should be writ large as an ideology. Okay, I don't think that you should be ideologically individualistic. I simply think that in the Heideggerian conception of Dasein, the English Dasein is somewhat more individualistic.
By the way, I'm a liberalist. I don't know if I made that clear.
Yeah, it actually makes sense. I think your point there, Blitz. That obviously the further north you go in Europe, the more successful people tended to be during the colonial period, and the more altruistic, introverted, and individualistic they tend to be, and therefore, for the same reason, because they're Northern Europeans. and therefore for the same reason they would be more cocky. It makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, and I think Sweden's basically the same, except they didn't really have the colonial, ability that we did.
Yeah, I think that the Swede is, by nature just a bit. They have this many of the similar qualities as the Anglos, like this not making altruism, not making a fuss, this sort of like cocky behavior that promotes pro-social behavior in bigger groups, and the biggest reason that Sweden never had any colonies is that because the climate never made it possible for the population to grow as big in Sweden as it did in the British Isles.
Russia is a Swedish colony.
Russia is an African colony, I'm afraid.
Oh. White niggers, are they?
Yes.
No, but the Rus people, the upper class of Russia, were Swedish.
Listen to the detached way in which these Anglos are talking about the murder of tens of thousands of Pajeets. All right? This is what the Anglo is. The Anglo is the 5'2" woman shouting at you, saying, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to beat you up, knowing full well you won't hit her back.
But let's be honest, the starving of like 4 million Dravidians was just pretty based.
I don't actually know anything about the Indian famine.
It's just Churchill's doing. Churchill's a perfect example of the eternal Anglo.
Well, I think he's actually quite the exception in terms of history. There aren't many men who exemplify those qualities to the degree that Churchill did. And I also think there's a lot of interest that Churchill held personally that are to blame for some of his behavior beyond just his apparent nature as an Anglo.
All right. Yeah, we haven't had the Pusher talk a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I was just waiting for a gap to fill in with a question.
Yeah.
So I do have a very serious question for the Anglos here. Will you ever apologize for Rhodesia, or is that off the table as well?
Never. We're not sorry. To reiterate, Horatio.
I'm never going to apologize for something, but that wasn't necessarily me who did that. Well, no, obviously it wasn't me, and that's a bad way to answer. But it wasn't necessarily the English people. Yeah. I mean, hell, the population of Rhodesia was English and British, was it not? It was the government. And I mean,
right.
hell,
what about South Africa then?
Nope.
What do you mean?
It was certain other people that had hijacked us. It wasn't us.
I do believe that the redcoats holding the rifles committing the atrocities were in fact Anglos.
There were mass boycotts all across the UK of South African made goods.
What, just the UK?
Hey. You can't say it wasn't us, it was the elites. Anglos participated in destroying South Africa. The average
only
Anglos...
because they were tricked, only because they listened to the propaganda. That's like saying that everyone that capitulates to what's going on right now across the whole of the Western world is guilty.
Exactly.
In a sense, they are guilty, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but then then by the same token, we condemn the eternal normie, not just the eternal Anglo, right?
Anglos are normies in being among the most, practically being the Bangladesh of Europe, all living in big cities. This is why you cannot consider Rhodesians or South Africans to be meaningfully Anglo, as they are more agrarian people.
Well, the Dutch are far more urbanized. The Dutch are more urbanized on average than the British, I believe.
They are also similarly dysfunctional, but that's not what we're discussing.
Hey, hold on.
I think actually that might be what we are discussing, because we were speaking about that particular neurotype. The Dutch and the Southeast English are basically the same in that regard.
I think we should
let James finish. Let James finish.
If you look at the Nutmeg Wars, we've already covered William of Orange, but if you look at the Nutmeg Wars in the 15th to 17th centuries, the Dutch are actually taking our most profitable. A bag of nutmeg could buy you a townhouse in London at the time. And the Dutch actually, their mercantilist companies anyway, beat the English mercantilist companies, and they were able to secure all of our islands that had nutmeg.
Yes, and we're not sorry either.
Exactly. Nor should you.
To be.
The only difference is that Holland's eyes were bigger than its belly. Basically, it liked to grab hold of all these territories, but it wasn't particularly good at keeping hold of them. And I know. That's actually what I'm referring to. But I think the fact of the matter is, Holland's capacity, their efficacy at empire was just slightly less good. That seems to be the only difference to me.
I think historically it's just that our colonial ambitions have been screwed over by the Anglo. South Africa, Ceylon. We won the two out of the 3 Channel Wars, and we even took your flagship. We burned Chatham, but then our own king, who was an infiltrated Anglo, cucked us. I mean, basically.
If you'd been the stronger party, then you would have done the same.
Well, exactly, and my point is that you did do the same.
Well, you can't go with the Anglos victimized me narrative and the we were stronger narrative concurrently, dude.
Watch me.
You can't fucking pull that off.
Because we just pointed out, didn't we, an instance in which the Dutch sort of cut the English. You were doing the same thing. It's just that the English just won overall. We operated in the same way, but the English just were victorious. You can't apologize for winning the World Cup. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's something that runs through this, which is, I think, an anachronistic notion of the white race, applying that to older times, and I think that's kind of reflects somewhat of an Americanism, if I'm to completely insult all of you lads. Like,
I agree. Yeah.
Back at the time, there was competition among European peoples. That was the primary. Europeans have fought far more wars among each other than they have against non-Europeans, and we happen to come out on top of that because
whiteness is an Anglo construct. Anglos are famous for racial pseudoscience, much like the Hajnal line, which are generally used to rope in more functional people like Germans and the like into being complicit with their trick.
Are you going to say that? Well, I mean, you'll find far more racial pseudoscience coming from German scholars in the 30s than you will from the actual.
Nine.
That's so typical. That's the dumbest liberal argument. Like,
that's not even true, man.
Yeah.
The Indo-European.
Just because it's esoteric doesn't mean it's not true. Anyway, I'd like to. I think we should take Phineas's concept of the Anglo as a spiritual disease, and I think we should define the Anglo physically and the Anglo spiritually. What is the Anglo?
Is it? It's sort of like
heroic alpha male, 6 foot tall.
It's sort of like a fungus that just grows and festers.
Okay, here's something.
Life.
Final. Let's refer to ourselves as the English, and these guys can construct this archetype of the Anglo, which is then separate from us.
Yeah, call him an Anglo, and look how he pulls back.
I've been found out. This with you right now, dude. How am I pulling back? How am I recoiling?
When did this this idea of using Anglo?
Unless you're being fucking.
All right.
Unless it's a fucking slur, because that's what it is. So why would I refer to myself by an ethnic slur?
It's important to use Anglo because there are several planter populations, such as Ulster Scots and creatures called Lowland Scots, but which are in fact planter Anglos around Ceylondia and the island of Ireland. And it's important to call these Anglos as well, as opposed to English, because they are more English in character than they are anything else. So Anglo encompasses English and Lowland Scots and planters.
This isn't a historic thing using the term Anglo. This is like
it's an
this is internet racism. Are you new here?
Did somebody use a slur on the internet that hurt your feelings? Do you want us to police our speech?
No, I'm saying why I won't call myself an Anglo.
All right,
because you wouldn't call yourself a fucking chink nymph swamp creature, would you?
I would.
Okay, well, that's you.
Yeah, actually, seriously, guys, harden the fuck up. This is like this is like the worst thing for you to get mad at us for.
No, you guys are acting like Jews, like essentially trying to control language for your own ends. We're just not accepting your premise.
I'm just saying I won't refer to myself by that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Anglo, what do you think about beady eyes? Is that an Anglo feature?
No.
You've got to reclaim the term, guys, like homosexuals did.
Yeah.
Proud Anglo. Vampire and proud.
Beady eyes are actually statistically not very common among English people. So.
They're very good at. They help you look away from crimes you're committing.
Well,
what are your thoughts on the higher Anglo IQ compared to the Irish, Phineas?
Interesting about that study, the 92 figure comes from an examination by an Anglo of Dublin school children. And that's where the 92 figure comes from. However, in 2006, there was a city-by-city study of the UK, and it was found that London had an average IQ of 89. Whereas, interestingly enough, the highest IQ city in the whole United Kingdom was, in fact, Derry, with an average IQ of 107.
Well, there's a reason for that, which is just...
So Irish children are more intelligent than Anglo adults.
That's
Phineas, I'm pretty sure that correlates. I'm pretty sure that correlates with immigrant statistics. No,
yeah, I mean that's obviously from non-European populations, isn't it?
Okay. Then why weren't towns like whatever Maynard Keynes? Why wasn't that Milton Keynes?
Could be the Irish immigrants
town.
Milton Keynes.
Oh yeah, whatever. A really, really white town in the UK. How come that was less intelligent than Derry?
Milton Keynes is a new town, and I think there might be something about the demographic selection of who went to live in that new town. I'm not quite sure.
Okay, the point being, an Irish city are the most intelligent in the UK.
So what? Like, I mean, it wasn't me that made the whole English are more intelligent thing.
Yeah, but if the Irish were so intelligent, oppressed all the time by the Anglos, huh?
Look, you're not supposed to concede every point. Why is Faust BTFOing me more than you are?
No, because I don't have an interest in proving that we're the most intelligent people ever. It's not about that, is it?
It's Anglo immigration into Ireland which improved the IQ in Northern Ireland.
The average IQ, yeah, but that's sort of to be expected, I think. And it does seem to have had a similar brain drain on Northern Ireland, which scores at about 97. But I think what's more important...
On average, that's only factoring in disgusting plantar prods like yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit silly to suggest that since, the Republic's IQ is lower on average, that must be Protestant IQ, drawing the average down. But if you look at Mensa data, right, the countries with the highest GNI per capita in the world, I think the UK scores 3rd and Ireland scores 6th. So both actually don't do too badly. Both are well up there with the...
very well, in fact.
But still better than...
Stop conceding every point, holy shit.
Well, we didn't concede. We were saying geniuses per capita is higher in the
if I call Queen Elizabeth fucking like chief rabbi of the whole world, are you gonna concede that?
Is it bad that I don't like the House of Windsor? Is that cucking?
Oh, man.
You're insulting me now, not the Brits.
Yeah, TVH, you're insulting Germans.
Yeah.
No. Well, the English. That's actually an interesting thing, because that you can make a case that the English have been without proper leadership and without a proper aristocracy ever since the Norman
Horatio, what are you doing, man? Come on, you got to quote the Queen.
That's weird. How are the English so incompetent that they can't scramble one leader to lead them? They're constantly, like you were talking about, how the Continentals are just programmed and led by something, and we have internalized gayness, and we're just higher. But then you go around and say that. You're constantly being led by foreigners, and it's not our fault, it's them.
How come the English have managed to hold on to their monarchy while everyone else's monarchies have gone into obscurity?
Oh, actually, you mean destroyed by Anglo-American CIA psyops?
There are actually quite a few monarchies left in Europe.
There's a few left, but they're irrelevant. Whereas the Queen of England is, possibly the most popular person in the world.
Irrelevant. She's basically a Kardashian at this point.
The Queen of England is kind of a church that allows gay marriage.
Yeah, she's.
What she needs to do is start doing a show like The Apprentice, like Trump did. That
she's just biding her time. She's waiting for the right moment.
You're fired.
At this point, the Queen of England is just what you get when you take Kim Kardashian and cross it with a rabbinical Jew, and that's what you get. And that's what the English are so proud of having leading their country.
I think it's pride in the institution, not just in the woman.
What
I
has
think-
the Queen of England ever done
Institute-
wrong? What has Queen Elizabeth II ever done wrong? She's a living saint.
She has not ordered the execution of all the retards in Parliament. I mean, if you have a king, why doesn't the king, Queen, use her authority?
Is a card that it's like a bee sting. It's something that can only be used one time, and then it will be lost. So
She has presided over quite literally the largest decline of any empire ever. And not only that, she has completely just opposed any attempt to do as Enoch Powell advised and turn England into a nation rather than an imperial power.
Yeah.
She should have been
agree with half
replaced.
of that.
Well, neither me or James are going to cuck for the Queen here, unfortunately. Final, sorry, mate.
Not the empire.
Should have just
But
like
to be
stuck
fair, though,
that
if you look at
crown on him.
just on the dynasty question, if you look at the pattern, our current dynasty, if you like, the Windsors, the Saxe-Coburns, they descend from Prince Albert, right? Who was German, basically, and Prince Philip is from the house of Schleswig, Holstein, Sonderburg, Glossberg in Denmark, I think, or Norway or something.
How is this in any way anomalous? They are literally all Jews beforehand.
Because it just goes sort of more and more toward the north. It's why like Northern European monarchies are still sort of intact.
But they're still Jews.
Okay.
They're
Then
just
it's
German.
Jews
Well,
who
no,
are
There's any evidence of
according to
that. I think that sounds a bit silly.
French.
Okay, let me find my autistic.
Self-BTFO. It's Jews, not Anglos.
Well, it's
That's
Anglos
what we've been
controlled
saying
by
the whole
Jews.
long.
As I said,
We didn't do
Anglos are
nothing.
innocent. They are
Yeah.
typically innocent. They're not capable of understanding what they're doing.
Well, then, apparently neither of any of the other Europeans presently controlled by powers that are, that are leading them to destruction.
Does Merkel
I
not
don't see how
understand
that's
what
any
she's doing?
distinction there. Yeah.
No, Merkel understands what she's doing. They're evil.
Yeah.
Germans are evil,
not
whereas Anglos
German.
are innocent.
There you go.
All right. Yeah. Germans are evil, and the English are whatever he said.
I mean,
All right, maybe we should move on to another
question.
specific topic. So, how about we discuss the special relation between Zog, aka the United States of America, and the Anglos?
I spit on the special relationship. It's a vassalship. That's what it is.
All right.
I mean, there's a special relationship as there is, in a sense, with Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the wider, what people call the Anglosphere, the Albionic race worldwide. Obviously, that's something that is just, that's something that we have a deep ethnic tie to through blood. But when it comes to the United States, it's very Germanified, and it's also just a.
Oh, now blame us, why don't you?
No,
Yeah,
no, I'm not
it's
blaming.
very
I'm saying that the United States is not just an Anglo state anymore, as it were. The
The
United
special
States
relationship is just a
changed
meme
quite a bit.
at this
Yeah, it's a
point.
meme.
It doesn't even do anything.
Albionic
Yeah.
race. Holy shit.
I actually concur.
This
with
is
the
somehow
relationship
worse
on
than
this.
British Israelism.
No.
Why is
let's
that
talk
out of
about
interest?
historical- How do you justify your participation in the creation of Israel? How do you justify the
Wait,
Gulf War?
Faust. Your sound is fucking garbage. You need to fix it, mate.
We were tricked.
Continental Germanic engineering here, folks.
Yeah.
We- We was
Okay.
tricked.
Let me put a different question. How do you accept the fact that you cling to your special relationship, whereas it's quite clear, even among normies on the continent and in Ireland, that it's basically CIA zogged them to where they are now, whereas Anglos have a special relationship that they go along with and they participate gleefully in?
Uh,
I don't know that that's true.
well, there's that, but I mean, nobody here is especially keen on the United States, so I don't really know what you expect us to say.
Oh,
I mean,
I
the
thought they were all Albionic.
No, I said precisely that they aren't anymore, and that's why it's not.
I think he referred to.
Are they not
Can-
all following the
Commonwealth.
Hajna line, disgusting Anglo family model where you kick your kid out when he turns 6 to work in a coal mine?
I think actually on a serious note, you bring up a good point. Anglo-mercantilism does select for success in mercantilism at the expense of feudalism, which sets a more well-rounded and robust and broad spectrum of metrics for success, and in turn creates a more, creates a more useful breeding pattern overall.
Yeah.
Wow, it's like
Yeah,
actually
it breeds the GDP, leading directly to the modern mass immigration scandal.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not even necessarily going to be more sort of economically viable in the long run.
Oh my God, you're like the Jew in George Orwell's novel writing about how, oh, would you like to borrow my daughter for a night?
Well, it's a very Scots thing
sure.
to
My son died of black lung when he was 12, but think of the GNP. We had 2% growth this year.
It is a very Scottish thing, I think, to sort of know about economics and invent ideas. There is a tradition of that. Normally quite shitty ones.
All right. Let me take this
Can you hear
discussion
me?
in a different.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. I just wanted to point out that the Anglos here talking about how we were the best at it and we were not sorry about the whole empire and so on. Just want to point out that you're just standing on the shoulders of giants here. Never forget the Finno-Ugric ancient kingdom used to rule over most of the northern hemisphere, and that we in fact were Kangs, and that Finns did found what later became London 56,000 years ago. So I do want some appreciation for that we did basically enable you and how you squandered the gifts of civilization that we gave you.
That's right, you was Kangs. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Marvelous logic. Yeah.
Now maybe we can switch to a more serious part of the topic. But do you, dear fellow Anglos, do you still feel the idea that you're not really European, you're something different, and that it's in your best interest to make sure that the continent never becomes like a powerful political unit, or is that a thing of the past?
I think we are and we aren't.
more-
Like we definitely do feel like something outside of Europe, and I think that that's kind of expressed in our relationship with the EU and how we never really felt part of it. But at the same time, I think, and particularly with the French and the Germans, there is something there. Even there is like a sense of being brothers. And I'm not memeing here. Like I think that there's a sense of being brothers, but there is a sense of distance. So my gut feeling is it's both essentially.
Yeah, I think I'm perfectly pro-Europe, but not if it's at the expense of Britain, is my position.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I think a British cultural artifact that can give us a lot of clarity if we look at the Anglo view of Europe through is the Jeremy Kyle show. The Anglos view themselves as Mr. Jeremy Kyle, who brings on these dysfunctional people, dysfunctional proles, and exploits them for mass entertainment. Whereas in reality, I think we can say that these are the delusions of a mental patient. I don't know what I'm doing, but Anglos are superhuman.
Implying a sort of race.
Watch the Jeremy Kyle show.
Dunning-Kruger, is that what you're saying?
Almost. I think they're just a town drunk who have to be looked after by everyone else.
Said the Irishman. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, TBH, lad. TBH.
Well, hang on. There was
Town
a
drunk that somehow happens to take over the entire world.
Yeah, that's what they are. The Down syndrome kid who sweeps up the hair off the floor.
Oh,
of the
Todd
hairdresser.
strength. Todd strength.
I would actually to make it a bit more serious. There was the revelation quite recently that the Anglos are quite different from us racially in the Cheddar Man research.
Oh yes.
Yeah, well, we're descendants of the pure cheddar race. We are just,
Was that your great grand uncle Horatio that they
Yes.
dug up?
Yeah.
I thought so.
I'm a person of cheddar and I'm proud of it.
Is cheddar
he was
Indo-European
probably,
for Chad, or is it different? But what do you guys think of Oswald Mosley, for instance?
He let the Anglos answer first.
Yeah, of course.
Splendid chap, but he cucked a little on tradition, and I think it was the idea that he was creating this new modern thing that adhered to elements of the past, but I don't think he really adhered to enough social tradition, basically. Yeah.
The Royals were behind him. I think he was a good guy. Like it's a shame that he got, what happened.
his concept of greater Europe, or you know, of a European superstate, I'm not opposed to it, as we said before, as long as British interest. I don't think Britain should be a part of that, and I think you guys would agree. I think instead we should pursue a wider, worldwide kind of British state amongst the British diaspora across the world.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Kamzuk, as badly named as that is, I think is the preferable model, and I think
Greater Albion, as it were.
Yeah. Do you guys, question to the Anglos, do you think that there's a risk that it's going to continue the same pattern that you've established during the last 100 years, that whenever there is, British interests in Europe, for example, Europe uniting, or Europe basically, the rest of Europe, I mean, basically out trading or out producing England, that the Anglo will in the future as well seek to undermine and incite hatred towards, and may even directly attack those European nations who threaten English quote unquote interests. That every time there is something to be gained, you are ready to lash out like a retard at school.
No, now it's about nationalist versus Zog, and those distinctions aren't there. It's there's a more of an international fight between factions within countries, and I don't think that will play a part. Not until Zog's defeated, but I think at that point everything will be so different that it'll be a non-issue.
I don't see that within the present paradigm there is much chance of being able to animate any European population to fight another one. I don't think that you could convince Europeans to fight each other again.
Watch me, we'll invade Poland as soon as we've united.
I'm sure. But
and Alsace-Lorraine will be ours again. You watch it, Pusher.
No.
Well, there's Germanic irredentism, which has destroyed Europe many times, but that's probably
and we'll do it again,
podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, all right. It's an interesting word to use.
Well, no, you guys then, sure.
No, I mean from Faust saying we. I mean,
oh right,
yeah, the Dutch.
I am fundamentally of the belief that the reason that the Netherlands and Flanders and Austria aren't part of Germany is to blame on the Anglos.
Or do most Dutch people want that out of interest?
No, well, there are factions, but not really. No, we've been.
In terms of population, the Dutch are quite similar to the Southeast English in terms of a lot of genetics. So I wonder the degree to which the Dutch, and in terms of language, somewhere in between the English and the German language. So I wonder the degree to which the Dutch are actually quite distinct from the Germans. I'm not sure.
Not very. Frisians, for example, the two tribes that make up the Netherlands, Frisians and Franks, are both Germanic tribes. And the reason that you're genetically similar is because, well, you got invaded by Germanics a lot.
No, not just that. Even prior to then, there's a population around the sort of North Sea and the English Channel that is similar in Southeast England and in the Netherlands.
Well, as far as Cornwall, it's from Belgium to Cornwall. It was Belgic speaking, wasn't it?
Belgium doesn't exist.
No, but the Belgium region,
No, it was much larger than Belgium today. It was the kingdom there. It was the local regional power in the late Iron Age. Yeah.
The reason we are called Dutch is because you fucking Anglos couldn't distinguish between Deutsch and Dutch. So
yeah, that does seem quite silly. Yeah,
and everyone else is so good at distinguishing between British and English.
Is there a difference?
Yeah, they're both Anglos.
Anglos
just completely proved my point, lads. Thanks.
I was building the fucking, what is it called? School of African and Oriental Studies in the middle of London. Eternal Anglo, enemy of the European man.
But I'd actually like. I think we should address the involvement of the Eternal Anglo in the establishment of Israel, the Balfour Declaration.
Oh yeah. I think it's important to note for very many years, Anglo-Stan was Israel. That it was the center of world Jewry, much like the Soviet Union was back then, much like America is today, in that it was an instrument ran by Jews, which they would hope would take over the entire world.
So in a way, British Israelism was a correct worldview. Is what you're
Absolutely,
saying.
yeah.
British Israelism
What
is the
is-
most repulsive tendency amongst like
What
anything
is
ever.
British
I have very little. There are very few things for which I have more contempt than I do for British Israelism. So you won't
explain
find
what
me
it is?
disagreeing there. British Israelism is the idea that the English or the British are descended of one of the tribes of Israel, and that is that is the reason that we should advocate for ourselves, is because we was Jews.
But is this not one of your greatest achievements? Have you not done more for them than anyone else? I mean, they were responsible for the spreading of Judaism to China, to India, to the East Indies, Australia and South Africa, of course. Is that not really the one permanent, lasting effect of the British Empire?
They just jump on whatever nation's the up and coming one. I mean,
but they didn't jump. They didn't jump. They were
They
established. They were invited in.
But then they jumped onto
They were
America.
kicked out numerous times as well, dude.
Well, hang on now. They were brought back in right before the beginning of the modern British state, the Glorious Revolution, when the modern British foreign policy of keeping Europe divided was brought into. They financed Cromwell. They financed the Norman invasion of Ireland was financed by them. For well over 1,000 years now, the Anglo has been the vessel through which the Jew enters the world.
Well, you just said the Norman.
They did control the Netherlands for a while.
Exactly.
Like we get blamed for inventing like the international banking system, but that was actually Jews. And then a buddy of mine has actually conducted a study into this, and he's researched all the names of the people trading slaves from the Netherlands, and they were all like Cohen, Ishmael, and they're all Jewish, all of them.
I mean, you had the earlier involvement of, such people in Genoa and in northern Italy, and the development of the banking system there. I mean, this isn't anything new. I don't think it's anything inherent to England or to the English that meant that this became a platform. Just as America is now a platform, as you said, it was just the most useful vehicle for them at the time.
It was an era when sailing and the seas were what reigned, and so they jumped on us because we were the best at seafaring.
You still
why did they jump on the Scandinavians in the 700s?
Because
it was a different era.
They weren't nearly as far. They weren't nearly as numerous in Europe at the time, and it wasn't even profitable to. What were they going to sail to Iceland or to Vinland? No, I mean they were already all over the Mediterranean at that point, but they didn't have the same involvement in Northern Europe yet. I'm pretty sure the first involvement of them came with William the Conqueror into England.
Well, the first involvement of them in Iceland has only happened last year, where they got their first rabbi.
Yes. Who immediately started advocating for refugees into Iceland.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
But you managed to dodge your involvement in the Balfour Declaration there. I mean, you were basically convinced by Jews to create Israel in return for American help in fighting the Germans.
So what does that tell you? That we got forced into it?
Why do you say convinced?
yeah.
I mean, they seem to go along with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the government at the time went along with it. Like,
Hold on, let me give you a hot take on it. I think the Anglos convinced the poor Jewish American financiers into backing their war against the Germans because they just wanted that Aryan blood so badly.
No, we were running low, dude. The stockpile that we'd built up from the Boer War was running dry. We needed more.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have anything else to talk about related to the Anglo question?
Well, I'd be interested in talking about the future and where we see things going. Who has the better solution for the position that we're in now, the Anglos or the Europeans?
Well, reparations. Firstly,
no, I'm talking about getting out of the situation we're in with immigration and such.
Well, seeing as the Anglos are the main proponents of liberalism and individualism globally, I can only see that they now like shutting themselves in more by leaving the EU. I can only see them and their poisonous ideology basically slowly devouring the nation. When basically the Anglo turns their destructive capabilities on itself. So I am I don't know really what will come of this when basically you're very busy. You've given up on destroying the world and now are busy destroying yourself. And it's really interesting. It's sort of like
it is like
ironic that the people who were the best at destroying are now using that to destroy themselves.
You pretty much quoted Enoch Powell there, interestingly.
Oh, maybe I should.
Watching a nation busily engaged in heaping up its own funeral pyre.
Oh, well, maybe he was a Finn then. It makes a lot of sense.
We was Enoch Powell.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we was a lot of things, and we is still. And I just
irrelevant to all of time. Yeah, you're that.
What is the Anglo solution to the problem? Because the only one I see on the Anglo side proposing a problem is Sargon.
He's right.
The only real representation you see of Anglo quote unquote intellectualism is just is exactly Sargonite-esque like liberals.
Sargon.
Well, the liberalist thing, I mean, that's not an exclusively English thing. Sargon is at the center of it. But I mean, you've got 3 English people on here at the moment who are of like mind to you lads. So I don't know what you...
Oh, is this just like the Sargon argument that how can all black people be bad? If I've read Thomas Sowell.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Anglos here.
No, you fucking just actually listen to what I'm saying, dude. Like, what I'm saying is that you're asking for any examples of the English providing solutions. And I mean, there's the 3 British people, well, there's 2 English and a Scots-Irishman here. And I mean, I probably share, I don't know exactly the best way to move forward and to solve these problems, but I identify the same problem as you do, which is that, you know, my country is being overrun by foreigners. So
we've also got hope in the form of Nige and Jacob Rees-Mogg, which I know they're a little bit civic, but
no, you don't. Oh my God, no, you don't. Oh, I just love this English bank as this English banker kicks me out of my house for not paying £2,000 a month to him. Oh, thank you, Pajit, for coming into my new house. So much better than that Polish.
I get the feeling that they're sort of more woke to things than they let on, yeah. And that
at this point, I have more trust. I have more trust in Sargon solving the problem than Nigel Farage.
Wait. Didn't Nigel Farage get on the news to tell Jews his patience with running thin, that he was having none of it anymore? Has that not happened? That's the point.
I think the quote was, "Einmal soll unser Geduld zu Ende sein." I think.
Und dann wird.
Yeah.
No, okay. So Anglos, what is the way out to get out of this for your country? So
well, for our country, I mean, obviously we should repatriate all non-native British people over a period of time, give them incentives through monetary means and so forth.
Including the Danish?
Wait, I've got a radical new theory that I'm going to launch officially here. I'm in favor of colonialism 2.0. I think that essentially it's too much of an ask to be mean and just send people back. We need to roll into Africa and make it great again.
Oh my God! No!
What's your concern?
Have you not? I'm going to completely disagree with you here. Have you not learned from the mistakes of the past? We go there, we try and improve things for these fucking people. We feel guilty that we can't improve them, so then we invite them here. We're not fucking doing that again.
No. We don't feel. We just make it good, and we don't feel bad.
We will feel guilty about it. We'll feel guilty that they won't be able to achieve the same things as us, and then the same thing will repeat. I'm not going anywhere near Africa or India. I don't give a fuck about either of those places. The only places I give a fuck about are Europe, Britain, and the wider, European and British races.
The guilty feeling that wasn't natural. That was tricks.
I don't know, man. I'm not sure. White man's burden is not a good fucking thing.
I think the way out for England is down. By which I mean we need to turn the Thames River Basin into an oceanic trench.
Well, I'd like to propose a Germanic solution. The Germanic solution to the problem is to start a global apocalyptic war and try to genocide everyone who's non-Germanic. And if that doesn't work, then we destroy ourselves again.
It's pretty measured.
Good plan.
That sounds like the German solution, to be absolutely total in everything. No moderation or nuance.
To be fair, that seems like the reasonable spectrum of solutions regarding Africa, which is like either total isolation or total genocide, but no in between should be tolerated.
Colonialism 2.0. Come on, guys.
I mean,
nobody should trust us with nukes. I'm just saying.
I mean,
all right. Which country is going to be freed first? Which country is going to?
France, I think.
Really?
Maybe you can correct me, but a lot of people say France is close to a civil war, and I think you have a large number of people who are nationalistically conscious in your country.
Well, it's very true that we're close to, maybe the closest to civil war. I would agree with this, but we're perpetuating the tradition of having no national unity whatsoever. So even if civil war breaks out, I'm not sure who comes out on top.
I would argue that it would be Sweden first, because they are just a step behind France, but they are much more, should we say, starting to get organized in a reaction towards it.
What time frame do you think we're talking about here?
I'd say 10 years. 10 years-ish. That's when the larger we will have more of the recent immigrants' children come up to fighting age.
Only makes them about 13 in 10 years, or have I got it wrong there?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
So most of the recent immigrants, what year did they come in? 2010 or?
Well, it's basically it's been for the case of Sweden, it's become going increasing slowly year on year since the early 90s. So it's when you factor in the children they're having, that becomes an exponential growth, and it's become they immigrated about 1.5 million new citizens into Sweden since the beginning of the millennia. So there's only about 8 or 8.5 million ethnic Swedes in Sweden, with a total population of 10 million, whereas the Swedes are have an average age closer to 40, whereas the immigrants are much lower. So you're seeing a demographic ticking time bomb in that country that's gonna blow up.
I see. And I guess the thing to look forward to is that once one country falls, then it's the rest should kind of go pretty quickly.
Well, my solution is that we try and integrate all of these people into the Western civilizational continuum. You know, we just need civic nationalism and liberal free market capitalism, and we're sorted.
I'm so glad you could make it, Paul. I really think you are.
Yeah, I think I'm a much better representative of the Anglo race than these turds.
You are. You really are.
Even though I'm actually Polish.
Is that true?
What did you say? Polish? Did you say?
Don't get it started.
Gas.
Gib Danzig.
Gib.
Yep. I thought it was obligatory that I do that stupid voice.
It's a very good impression, I have to say. It's top tier. Very good impression.
Well, since
that's very Anglo of me, right? Being able to imitate and hide my true form.
Yes. Yes. We should. Could you answer some questions from Jonathan Bowden? Could we field him some questions?
Field Bowden some questions?
Yes. Is he there?
Thank you very much.
So, are you sorry?
We're not sorry. Whatever occurred and whatever occurs, we don't need to apologise. We step over what exists. English and British people have an innate radicalism which is being suppressed by the elite that is controlling us. We need to be free of the shackles of modernity.
Oh, you have an innate radicalism now. I thought you were a pleasant, griefy green land.
Irish people aren't real. That is the truth of the matter. That was what the Troubles were about, was trying to decide whether the Irish are real or not. I still don't have a definitive answer. I think Ireland is a fake country.
All right,
not
so is that
wrong.
what is that what we are talking about now? The Troubles? Phineas wanted to talk about it.
Oh, I want to talk. What are your opinions on the Troubles? By that I mean the Troubles, 1960 to 1996 in Ireland, caused by Anglo trickery in the north, and the current state of Ulster Scots.
Well,
I actually think that the paddy is real, but they're basically just sort of inbred Scots anyway.
Oh my god, that's the worst Beavis Kangs I've heard in my life.
answering something.
Literally,
Answering,
Scot is the Latin word for Irish person. Holy shit.
oh god, let's not do this. Let's not do this. Answering the Troubles thing. Well, the Ulster Scots and the Unionists are, they're a group in Northern Ireland who have tried to maintain their primacy in Northern Ireland. I think that's understandable, most certainly. I have no real ties to the conflict, so I can't really be passionate entirely on either side. But they're loyal to the British government, and they consider themselves Britons. So obviously, I'm on the loyalist side in that. In terms of actions taken on the part of the government, I think the Black and Tans operation was definitely like misguided in the way that it went about things, and I don't think it helped actually maintain control over Ireland or Northern Ireland. I think it's
Brexit pretty much.
Yeah, and I think the UVF is a splendid institution.
Yeah, no, I think there's it's basically Northern Ireland is one of the most pure examples of just two tribes going to war, as it were.
Okay, but one tribe is completely fucking retarded and paid for by another one, foreign, over the sea. For example, now that
you mean how the British?
Now that Ulster Scots no longer get any free gives from the Anglos, they are now the worst performing group in Northern Irish schools.
Hey, Phineas, didn't the Irish in America collect a lot of money for the Irish?
Yes, and the hero Colonel Gaddafi did. Who else? Saddam Hussein, the Chinese, the Russians. A great international coalition against Zog was fought in Northern Ireland. It was really good versus evil.
Oh, so the Troubles were a crusade against Zog, were they?
Of course they were.
Yeah, bombing pubs in England, that's really anti-Zog, isn't it?
I also want to clarify that in 1913, the UVF was set to rebel against the British Crown with the intention of fighting the British Army to prevent Home Rule. So they are not in any capacity loyal to you. They, in fact, go on home, British soldiers was one of Ian Paisley's rallying cries.
Ulster will remain firm to the very end.
Keep Ulster out of the south of Ireland.
That's much better.
I mean, again with the whole Ulster thing, I mean, James is himself an Ulster Scot, so he cares far more about it than I do. But as an Englishman, I kind of wish I didn't have to care about Ireland at all. Oh, have I outed you there?
Nope.
So when you think about Ian Paisley's trickery, for example, Ian Paisley's Ulster Protestant action started the Troubles. I mean,
grievances with this guy. Fucking hell.
Bombing other Anglos, and then saying the IRA did it.
Ian Paisley is Scottish or Scots-Irish. He's not English.
They're planters. They're from the north of England.
Paisley is a Scottish name.
Yeah, Paisley is a town in the lowlands of Scotland.
The lowlands, Anglos. You've heard that.
The lowlands are not entirely English, dude.
Right? Come on.
They are though. They speak English.
Better.
Oh, you speak English, you fucking idiot.
As a second language.
All right, yeah, but most of Ireland speaks it as their first language. Are they all English?
They're all sick. I thought we were all albionic.
We
were all albionic.
Well, the Irish,
the Ulster Scots don't speak English, and the Irish do.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they just speak stupid English. Scots isn't a real language. Holy shit.
Well, right. I mean, Phineas, the whole albionic thing isn't about. It's not about a specific culture. It's just talking about a population of the British Isles. It's not supposed to describe like one thing in particular.
More Anglo pseudoscience.
Well. Dude, I mean, you can take it or leave it. I don't really see how it affects you, though. It's not like, again, like the Irish go mad about this whole albionic thing. I just don't see why they care so much, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think it's worth pointing out it is far from pseudoscience. The Isles represent one larger breeding population. Yeah.
Guys, this is an entertainment show. You're just supposed to stop making arguments and just start being fun, okay? Please attack me
Yeah,
back.
Okay.
Like-
I have a
like,
question
I-
for you.
Yeah.
Okay, a serious question.
Okay.
Who would win in a fight? The entire nation of Ireland or zero potatoes?
Oh man. Pretty hard. He needs to have a comeback to that.
Who would win in a fight? Your rectum or a British boarding school?
Who would win in a fight? Your rectum or an Irish fucking monk-run boarding school, or your rectum
That
and
was
an
nowhere
Irish
near.
priest?
Hey, your hero Ian
Irish
Paisley was
Catholic
involved in it.
priest. Huh?
Well, obviously they were. Firstly, they were almost entirely Anglos, and I'm not even joking when I say that.
Who?
The Irish Catholic clergy.
Yes, the Irish Catholic clergy.
Oh, they're all English, are they?
They're all
That's
English.
convenient.
They're all
It's very
they're all
convenient. Yeah.
Everyone.
I do have to say that this Blood Sports episode shows the inherent civilization over the Europeans have over the Americans. We haven't even done any ad hominems. We haven't threatened anyone with knives. There hasn't been any shouting over each other. Constantly.
through some super chats here.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Let's
Yeah.
see. Barbute
All right.
writes. He writes, attack Winston Churchill, representative of the Anglo upper class, father in debt to the Jews like all of his peers, has to go to America to get a rich wife to pay debts. Still not enough. Winston born out of Anglo-American economic dependency on the Jew to finance their conquests. Germany beating allies, gives Palestine to Rothschilds in exchange for burger involvement. Literally killed German civilians after the war, World War I, by preventing supplies getting there. Literally admit to 2 world wars, gang up on the Germans just because the Anglo is scared of its superiors. This fat fuck is the greatest Anglo ever, according to Anglos. Well, harsh words
Accurate.
from Barbute.
Accurate.
Well, I mean, if you do like polls of any European country, then they'll probably, rank. They're not exactly going to say what we would agree with, would they? If you're talking about who each country thinks is their greatest leader, then I doubt they'd give the same answer on average than people in this whole thing.
Is it true that you go to jail if you quote Winston Churchill in public in England?
What, for the whole Muslim thing?
Only if you're Paul Weston.
Well, hey, I mean, fucking free speech laws aren't as bad in the UK as they are in some other places.
Yeah.
As in Germany.
No, they are.
Germany's a fucking
No.
state.
It's just that they're
You have
enforced
more
much
arrests.
rigorously in Britain.
We
Because-
can deny
You've
the
got way
Holocaust
more
if we want.
arrests. Yeah, you
But
could, but
more
you'll still
so
get in
in
trouble for
Scotland,
discriminating.
interestingly enough, that you have that fucking Count Dankula guy. Might be going to prison for teaching his dog to seek Heil. So
He's not going to prison. It'll be fine.
yeah, but
he
dude, he's been
probably
put through
will.
a trial.
Yeah, I mean,
But
the
that's
punishment
interesting.
is
Why is that happening in Scotland, and why are the Scots so fucking cucky? That's an interesting thing to interrogate there.
Because
I think
there
it's
should
just-
be
it's just
Irish,
the
but they're
lowlands, it's just the Anglo-Scots.
I mean, aren't-
they're all fucked.
Aren't Scots just, Anglos that talk funny? I mean, what's the difference?
1 in 5 Scots are on the dole. I mean, seriously, the proposition for Scotland remaining a part of the UK just isn't there. Come
The
home,
other
Gaelic.
1
man.
in 5 are
Stop
on
talking
heroin.
stupid.
No, the Scots are fucking. Well, it's complicated. It's complicated.
Oh, it is. It really is.
Yeah, I'd like to pound to
Well, it
another
is.
super chat here.
Pretending we have super chats.
So Zonwending writes, there is literally no difference between West Germans and Dutch people, and Dutch is just a low German dialect. We used to call ourselves Deutsch until the 18th century. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, you anti-Germanic fuckers.
What?
Well, I think
Okay.
I've outlined already the model for the eternal kraut being Europe's downfall. They're always trying to consolidate us together. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
We will unite and dominate Europe. One day.
There's a
Well,
really butthurt
you're
guy
3
in
for
chat
nil
called
right now.
Chabas.
What were you saying, Blitz? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm reading the comments here. This is some butthurt guy called Java Soulbox. All this hatred of the Anglos, but you vote in a gay Indian. That sure sounds like you're doing a great job of preserving your culture, doesn't it?
Any comments, Phineas?
TBH.
He wasn't voted in, he was appointed. Moreover, Ireland is honest in that it can accept it is a gay Indian country, unlike the UK. In its current state,
Ireland
unlike
is a
the
gay
UK.
Indian country. Phineas 2018.
much like the rest of the world. I
Much
just
of the
want to remind
the
you
rest.
all, after destroying net neutrality, I will in fact maintain that this certified Vedic Aryan Prime Minister is in fact more white than Anglos.
And I believe that
It
was
doesn't make him Irish, though.
Hot take: Brahmins
also wasn't voted in,
are more.
just for the record.
Guys, if any of you
Brahmins are whiter
encountered
than Anglos.
Irish Israelism, the idea that the term Gael comes from Lake Galilee, and that the Irish are in fact descended of a tribe of Israel.
Well, that's just crap.
Have you encountered this, Phineas?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
So that was funny, to be honest.
Pretty sure most countries that were Christian have some kind of version of we was Israel kind of thing.
Yeah,
but it's worse with the Brits. It's worse with the Brits because you actually have songs and poetry.
Well, it seems like more of a Protestant or Calvinist thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Fucking William Blake, Jesus Christ.
I think, no, you French have it too. You've got this story where Jesus went to southern France with the whole Merovingian dynasty kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's not popular. It's really not a widespread thing. It's very fringe.
Weren't the Merovingians descended from Jesus or something?
Yeah, that's kind of the theory, yeah.
But Jesus didn't have any kids. What?
You look at South Africa, they had that going on as well, thinking they were the chosen people, that South Africa was the promised land. So.
This is the red pill that Christianity is the problem.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Are we going here now?
Yes!
I knew that would get you butthurt. I love this. The Irish are invariably very Christian, very Catholic.
You see what they do?
The Anglo has pagan shrines in his fucking city of 10 million people.
Yeah, what's wrong with
you
that?
You see what they're doing? They're playing us out against each other over religious differences. It's the eternal Anglo all over again.
Faust, you're the one who's decided that you hate the Irish. I had no involvement in that.
No, it's a big Dutch tradition to just turn around and stab the Irish in the back whenever you can.
Yeah. So maybe let's talk about perfidious fucking Frisia
Netherlands?
or Batavia.
Oh, jeez.
Batavia, yeah, that would be accurate.
Yeah. Perfidious Belgica.
Actually, we never invaded anyone except like sub races, but not civilized countries. We never invaded anyone.
Yeah, sure.
We didn't. I mean, we profited of the wars of the bigger nations between each other, and we have occasionally had to kick the French back from trying to take the southern Netherlands and the Spanish and the Austrians.
It's not southern Netherlands; it's northern France. It's different.
Well, it is now. It is now.
So I just want to make sure you guys are going to send me like 5 gallons of Aryan blood as the fee for this, right? That was what we agreed, right?
Okay, you got 5. Why am I being ripped off for 3?
Well, it's not going to be top tier Aryan blood, but
okay. So you're going to give us like some like Slav blood,
Portuguese
or something,
blood.
I don't want none of that.
Portuguese blood.
Oh my god, you fucking swindlers! Fucking Dutch. Never trust a Dutchman. You drink 5 gallons of pure Bavarian blood, and I'm getting fucking Portuguese blood. Jesus.
Well, look, the Portuguese guy is your greatest ally on the continent, so I figured, makes sense.
It's true.
Yeah, there's that.
Oldest unbroken alliance in the world.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Not that it did you much good.
No, quite. So is Andy Warski like our man?
I think he's
we need
becoming our man.
No, is he our man as in
stupid.
Portuguese?
Yeah, you can have him, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
mean-
Worski is just too retarded to actually have any positions of his own. He's just like, you can tell him like anything, and he'll go along with it. And he's like, yeah, oh, that's interesting.
I don't want to say that because in case he like starts getting insulted by people on our side and stops doing stuff in our favor.
If he had a higher IQ, he wouldn't be able to do what he's doing.
No, probably not. Actually, I would
It's
like
perfect.
to go on that show and just if I ever got a chance to go on that show, I just start telling him about Neuschwabenland, just trying to convince him it's real.
He's a good guy, though. He's despite not being the smartest guy ever, he's got a good heart.
Yeah, no, he seems like
does.
a nice lad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he has trouble with basic reading comprehension.
Yeah. What was it? He said Loki.
Loki, haven't you read Loki?
He's dyslexic and he's got.
That was just him being a pagan. You know, he's actually a base pagan. Next thing you know, you have survived the jive on Worski, just talking about how very Indo-European he is.
Yeah, it would be interesting to have survived the jive on there, just defending paganism. That would be interesting.
That'd be great.
I'm pretty sure he managed to convert Andy Worski into becoming a pagan. No trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, next episode, Worski would be converted into Orthodox Christianity or something else anyways.
We should just try, like, the new trend in the alt-right should be get on Andy Worski and convince him to convert to another ideology every day.
Yeah. I mean, it won't be survive the jive because Anglos can't be pagans unless they're worshipping concrete. But concrete and deforestation. That's
You want
Anglo behavior.
to worship a concrete, or do you want to worship a Jew?
Horatio, what's with the anti-Christian things, man? Come on, Church of England.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just what I think. Am I supposed to lie or what?
You're supposed to convert to Christianity.
Oh, you
and,
want me to be gum? Okay.
go to church.
I need Barb Ute to come on here and we can like double team all the Christians.
That's not going to
You
end well
guys know
for you.
that Jesus was Jewish?
The Anglo and the
Guys, I opened the Bible and there was no race and crime like Jesus.
Actually, hold on. This whole slander about Jesus being a Jew needs to end. Have you ever seen pictures of Jesus? He has blonde hair and blue eyes. And my theory is, it's like, you know how the Hyperboreans
face of
landed
Jezebel
on Earth
Ruby.
like 6,000 years ago? And that's the origin of the true white people who subjugated all the Negroids and Dravidians.
You
My
sound like an
theory is that-
American white people. Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
No, Hyperboreans.
that face,
Hyperboreans, not white
that
people.
particular-
You sound like an
There's
American.
no such thing as... Yeah, Hyperboreans.
that
Jesus was the
particular-
last Hyperborean. He's the last one to land on Earth, and that's why we call him God.
That particular face, by the way, is actually thought to be based on the likeness of Cesare Borgia in his portraits. It's the same.
I mean, to
face.
be honest, can we just stop calling it religious paganism and just start calling it religious racism? Because that's what it is.
Okay. All right. Sure.
Nice.
But the thing is, like the innate spiritual expression of a people in a tribal sense does express itself like that. So I mean, yeah, you can call it racist if you want, but I mean but racism is what we call racism is a natural property of people. So it's just in the same way, it's in line with that in a spiritual sense. It's in line with the way people are.
Horatio, may I ask what your
Okay.
beliefs are?
Huh?
May I ask what your beliefs are?
Metaphysically pagan, yeah.
Any particular line of paganism?
Well, I suppose within the English tradition, I'm not. I mean, people say that the pagans, a lot of the pagans in these circles are kind of just atheists because they don't believe in deities in the Abrahamic sense of it. But I don't literally believe that there's a metaphysically objective, man in the sky called Thor. But I think they are a. This is completely off topic for the hangout, but it's an idol and a spiritual expression of phenomena. Do you know what I mean? It's the spirit of thunder is expressed in this deity that we call Thunor.
That is the most Anglo explanation of this shit I could imagine.
Okay.
Like, holy shit. People in the old days literally believed in fairies. They literally believed that putting
they
down
did, yeah.
hawthorn trees would be dangerous because, and the like, or whatever it was in England. Holy shit. And now you're just saying, well, actually,
No, I'm not
my
retroactively
ancient
saying that
peasant
people didn't believe in
ancestors
that. No.
had all run through
Bro, why are you guys
No,
talking out? These things are real.
I'm not saying that people in the old
I
days
actually
didn't-
believe in fairies
Shut up,
too.
Faust.
They sail
I
to
actually
Amsterdam every year.
I'm not saying that people believed or thought the way I did back then, dude. That's not my contention. But I'm saying that the metaphysics remain the same even as our understanding of the world changes.
That's like the small brain thing, and then the expanding brain above that is actually it was all real.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah,
It's like
slave,
Peter Hitchens,
slave
you know,
morality.
talking, I am a Christian
Yeah.
because I choose to be Christian. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, and I don't have any prep done.
Well,
this,
hold
but-
on. We're doing a blood sports episode. That means we have another
yeah.
3 hours to go.
Religion,
at
let's
least.
go.
I didn't even know what that word was.
We'll pick these sides.
Yeah, traditional blood sport episodes go like 4 or 5 hours. So got some ways
Oh,
to go.
bloody hell, really?
No one
All
here
right.
is dishonest or greasy enough to
Yeah.
protract the discussion out to 4 hours.
And we're all sort of getting along in a reasonable sense. Like no one here seems to have a massive personal issue with anyone else, so it's fine.
So
You
we're
know?
not-
Yeah,
we're
it
not doing well.
seems to be a problem with Americans who are getting
So can we talk about? Can we shift this onto the Eternal Burger?
Yes,
Yes.
let's do
Okay.
that.
Hold on, actually, before we do that, I'd like Pusher. You haven't really talked much. I'd like to hear the French perspective on all the Anglos.
Asking a Frenchman the the perspective of Anglo.
Yeah, okay, so on one hand, I think the Anglo were the most how would you put it? The worthiest enemies we ever had, historically speaking, even though their treachery knows no bounds. But that being said, it's also what made them a mighty opponent to reckon with. So I kind of missed the old days when the only thing getting in the way of our supremacy was the Anglos. Because it was kind of
What treachery is involved in like just being better at you at naval combat? I don't understand.
yeah, John Lowe, for instance, would be a good place to start. But I mean, I still haven't gotten over the Battle of Agincourt, to be honest. You'll need to pay reparations for that someday. But yeah, so I kind of regret you guys having become weak like we have. It's kind of embarrassing. I wish we could, kick out the non-Europeans and go back to intense European blood sporting, French versus Anglos versus German, because that's where our greatness came from. But
We will end
I'll pay
all of
for
you.
Yeah, I'd honestly pay for the reparations for the Battle of Agincourt if you'd give back Brittany.
Yeah.
all right,
Sure.
fuck.
We're not doing that.
Okay, so can we talk about the fucking Americans, please?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
please.
Okay,
So
so
I just want to
Can I
say,
give my
I
favorite
mentioned this-
quote on the Americans?
I mentioned. Oh yeah. Give the quote from Evola. Give it.
Yeah, okay. This is my favorite ever quote and the best quote on the American mind. The American is the living refutation of the Cartesian axiom. I think, therefore I am. Americans do not think, and yet they are. The American mind, puerile and primitive, lacks characteristic form, and is therefore viable for every form of standardization. There we go.
harsh but fair.
I
And
I
true,
talked about
yeah,
this
perfectly
on.
concrete.
I talked about
It's
this
just one
on.
of those innate metaphysical truths of the universe.
Yeah, on Albion Radio coming out later today. But I got this comment from this American because I was saying that there should be more European and British perspectives on these blood sports thing because the American white nationalists don't really know what they're talking about when it comes to the European topic. And this guy responded saying that a British person had called him and his fellow Americans Amerimuts in a different comment section. Fuck British nationalists, he said. It was the most glorious butthurt.
Isn't that perfectly accurate and fair, though? They
Yeah.
are.
Indeed. You can always identify an American on Twitter by the sheer number of flags that they have after their name.
Yeah.
It's that, or they're siege posting all over the place,
Yeah.
like they did in real life just this week, where the ADL calls them up and they go, "Yeah, man, that was us shooting up that school. That was us."
Great
was-
troll, by the way.
That was pretty funny, but fucking retarded at the same
Trolled,
time.
haha.
I associated my political movement with a psychopathic killer who looks just like the 56% Ogro de las Americas. Trolled, man.
El Goblino.
El Complino.
Lo creo de las Américas.
Brilliant.
Hard endorsement. Yep.
Who would win, the entire American white nationalist movement or the 56% meme?
Or a bunch of shit posting Euros on a Sunday evening.
You know, I swear to God, Anglin is at this point the only one that's still sensible within the American movement. Like Spencer's gone off being, I don't know, LARPing as Nietzsche somewhere. And the Identity Europa seems to switch leaders every quarter or something. Then you've got Atomwaffen going around committing terrorism. Are there any others that are doing anything sensible?
TRS is sort of doing all right. It's it doesn't seem as funny as it was, but yeah, Daily Show's all right.
It's funny when I'm on.
I like some of the shows still, but
good Spencer impression.
Sargon.
Yes. Spencer, tell us about Ukraine.
Ukraine is a part of Russia for all of time. Ukraine is not a real country. Ukraine belongs to my wife. Ukraine belongs to the big Russian milkies. To have a Russian waifu is to be a striver, a conqueror, an explorer.
That's good.
So have I redeemed the Anglo? Have I redeemed the Anglo race with my impression?
Yes. Well, no, because Spencer is an Anglo,
Spencer
so no.
is Anglo.
Spencer is like part German, isn't he?
No,
Spencer is
he's
100% Anglo. His whole world is Anglo.
I like that
he's
the
really
guy
an
is.
American.
I like that he's so toxic. I like that he's so toxic that everyone here disavows and says that he's another ethnicity. No, he's not one of us.
I actually don't mind Richard Spencer. I think he's all right. You know,
I don't either.
In all dimensions except physical, Richard Spencer is an Anglo.
No, I think he's fine as far as America is concerned. But when he talks about Europe, it's just like, dude, shut up. He tweeted recently, the Austria doesn't exist and they're all Germans. And while that might be true, and Faust, you'd probably agree with him, that's not for him to decide, you know? Like, the Austrians, if they consider themselves their own thing, that's, you know, it's none of Spencer's fucking business.
Österreich is Deutsch, but yes. It's called the East Mark. East Mark of what do you think?
Yeah.
Of Germany. Christ.
All right. Can I ask you people here, out of the blue, what's your opinion of Italians? Are they white?
Northern Italians are white,
where.
Southern not really.
South of Naples, I mean, it's the south of Italy is just...
South of Naples is the fucking Mediterranean, dude.
Yeah. Because we had on a recent episode, I made some joke about the attack in Italy, saying that we must do something about this black on black violence. Italians shut up, refugees. And I also made a statement about the Italian girl that was killed by an African, and said that she had blonde hair, and I said as an offhand remark that I didn't know Italians could have blonde hair. And apparently this has stirred some feelings, and a guy with a Italian surname, Fratti, wrote us an email. He wrote, I've listened to episode 63, 64, by far the most obnoxious far-right podcast I have ever come across. The true repellent ones are the sniffing, annoying French and the laughing simpleton Finn. Sniffly, criticizing everybody, laughing, sniffing, lots of irony. Laughing, sniffing, imbecile garbage. He just ends it there. So I wrote him.
So what you're saying is that Johnny from the Paranormies wrote you an email?
Yeah, basically.
The less white, the better.
I wrote him an email like this. Hello, thank you for listening to our podcast. Based on your name, Fratti, I assume you're Italian, and want to say I'm glad to hear that we have attracted black listeners. I need to correct you, though. Europa Weekly is not a far-right podcast, but actually a leftist one, since all panelists are openly Nazbol. The sniffing Frenchman was, due to his proximity to Southern Europe, sniffing due to him smelling sweet Mediterranean butthurt. We are sorry this has caused an inconvenience. I would say God bless, but chances are you're Catholic, in which case my condolences. Te simple templates and the obnoxious Europa Weekly panel.
I'm not obnoxious. That's a good channel. That's a good response. Ain't no nigger ever called me here.
Yeah, and I think the thing with the with the meds, like the women can look like hot when they're younger, but as they get older, they begin to look like their dads. They even get the mustache.
Yeah.
Virginia per capita, like lazy, hasn't really.
Yeah, but
performed
let's be
without
honest,
any
they are
effort
more
or-
proactive than the Anglos in removing the
Yeah.
Bab and
They're
Negro.
more proactive in every sphere.
More social.
It's why they keep their
It's
teeth.
probably
You know?
it's probably the black blood, lower impulse control.
I think the highest amount of African admixture in any Italian region is only about 3% in Sicily. But I mean, still, they are just in general less white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone is in any way butthurt, I just want to say this: if you're in any way butthurt about being non-white, you're not white. Okay? Can we agree on that?
That's very true. Yeah.
You are correct,
So,
Mr.
Phineas,
Mr.
how
Penny.
white are the Irish anyway?
I hope not at all.
There you go. That's what the Irish have. I think the Irish have a very clever tactic here, which is that they tactically counter signal the idea of being white in the first place. And I kind of agree. I don't like when this whole Cheddar Man thing came out. It's like, yeah, no, we're not white. We're British. Fuck that.
Hey, Ching Chong, we did that first.
Yeah.
Who invented the Finns or Mongols meme? It was us.
I for one.
Exactly. National anthem. All stand for the Finnish national anthem.
I don't like the whole Americanist white thing either, but you have to understand that it isn't. I think Europeans don't use it the same way the Americans do. It's like defining their identity. It's just like a catch-all term for Caucasians.
Europeans
we don't use it to define our identity.
I think that's.
It's a
worth noting.
descriptor, but it's not our ethnos, right? Whereas they are white Americans, and that is their ethnicity. Yeah.
Well,
So
for
when
us,
it's like non-white,
it's
you
a
actually
negative
have to point
category.
out to most Europeans. Like
For
that's something
Europeans,
Americans don't realize.
Shut up, Phineas. I'm
Yeah, you
moderating.
should.
For Europeans, white is a negative category. It defines what we aren't. It's like you have a black guy who says he's French. Well, he's not because he's not white, but we wouldn't define ourselves as white in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go now, Phineas. You can say what you want to say.
Oh, I forgot. Sorry.
Oh my god, I
I
hate
was
it.
reading
No,
the
I
article.
can't.
Fascinating. However, no,
Too
sorry.
much whiskey.
Europeans for Americans are literally like not racially conscious at all. Like they literally will not notice if a guy is black until they until they go looking for it. Basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what the burgers don't seem to realize.
No more brother wars, guys.
But we do understand that like a Dutchman will. It's a funny thing here. Even the lower class Dutch, like the upper class Dutch, they are very politically correct. But if you actually hang around with working class Dutchmen, they refer to all non-white Dutchmen as foreigners. That's just the standard term for them they have, because they realize that they're not Dutch.
What about non-Dutch white men?
I think we probably refer to them by their ethnicity, British or Polish or
Are there many Britons in Holland?
There's a few working in the petrochemical industry. It's mainly Polish.
All right. Yeah, it's fucking mainly Polish everywhere. Do you know Iceland has like a 2% Polish minority?
What? When did they get there?
I don't fucking know, but they need to fucking leave.
Yeah.
What do we do about the Polish question in Europe? I
Well,
mean,
we
it
need to
seems
just
be
fucking
really-
send them all back there, dude.
Yeah.
You just
guys,
leave,
they're-
Oh my god, guys!
Herren,
Iceland is
you just leave the Polish question to us, yeah? You leave the Polish to us. You look away and you do not interfere.
But guys,
Yeah?
they're white just like us. You can't be punching white, can you?
Oh,
Burger.
Come on, guys. Poles are white. I'm half Polish. No more brother wars, guys.
Read Sage.
Fucking Euro fags.
Johnny Neatsock has read Siege last week, so now he's going to lecture you endlessly about what you should do in your country.
Hi, I'm White Warrior 1488. I come from a pure line of Austrian, German, Irish, Italian, Russian, Antarctican, ancestors.
African.
I'm
It's accurate too.
164th Cherokee.
Every single time I get some LARPing faggot who's like, you should stop trying to get political power. Democracy is not the answer. I'm like, yeah, I understand democracy is not the answer, but how exactly do you propose to do anything about it if you don't gain any power through some kind of means and convince people through making propaganda? They're kind of like always their standard answer is either read Siege or to go the full Varg route of like go LARP in the woods.
Hey,
Why is it?
if it wasn't
There
for the
are no
Polish who would eat
woods in the
swans,
Netherlands.
did you ever
I
think about
can't
that?
even LARP in the woods.
Why is it that Christians aren't white? Let's find out.
that burger impression you did before sounded just like what I imagine Mr. Bond, that Spurgy poster on the Purity Spiral sounds like in real life.
Fucking Euro fags. Nothing wrong with reading these.
Oh wait, no, the guys,
Yeah, he wrote it.
the guys European.
Let us just let us just pound. Let's pound through Mr. Bond's super chats here. Siege is a great book. Nothing wrong with reading Siege. Haha, implying I'm punching 56%.
So is he actually Euro?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he speaks German, I think, but I thought he was American.
He's Austrian.
He's Austrian.
He's Austrian.
Oh,
Bond is,
yeah.
he's Austrian.
All right.
It's
all right.
German, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
Deutsch
he's
is Herrenvolk, Volksdeutsche.
All right.
Auf Ansbach to go, auf Ansbach Bayreuth.
No, Ansbach-Bayreuth is a little bit farther to the north of than Austria, but
No, but that's the Prussian marching song, right?
yeah.
God, you don't even know
Which,
your own supposed. Thinks he's German. Thinks he's fucking German.
Ansbach-Bayreuth is it's not in Austria. That's the point.
No, but you were saying he was German, so whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever.
whatever. Yeah,
Move on,
yeah,
move
yeah.
on.
I would like to go back to the point that Anglin is actually the most intelligent person in the American alt-right, and it's shocking. He's the guy just constantly LARPing about being the most extreme guy ever.
You know that's
But
a joke,
whenever he-
right?
I know.
It's like-
Whenever he's serious, he's actually makes sense.
But it's a propaganda. This Daily Stormer is like
I know,
supposed
I
to
know.
get a young, edgy audience. That was the whole point of it. He's not.
I know, and it works.
Yeah,
but
and
when he
Sargon
actually-
thought. And Sargon thought he was going to go on there and talk about fucking like genocide. he thought the Daily Stormer was sincere. The fucking moron.
Yeah, I know. But that's the thing is when Anglin actually writes advice to the movement or he writes critical pieces and such, he usually makes the most sense out of all of them, all the
Yeah.
Yanks. Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't have an ego to feed, so it doesn't.
What's his ancestry out of interest?
Irish, of course. Like
yeah,
any other
potato
person,
nigger.
like any decent American, to be honest.
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
What
literally
kind
who
of
else?
name? What kind of name Anglin is? Anglin seems like an odd.
Anglin, Anglo.
Anglo. It's one of those.
Uh,
No, it's one of those gibberish English names because his going through Ellis Isle, his ancestors would have said their name in Irish, and they just wrote down what they heard. That's how very nearly everything in Ireland is named.
Mm-hmm. Because your fucking language's orthography is impossible.
We had our own alphabet. Unfortunately, Zog took it from
What
us.
poem?
No, until like the 50s, we had our own script.
Oh, true. Well, I must say, I do think that the old Gaelic, sorry, I'm used to saying that because of Scottish, but the old Gaelic script is a lot better for writing it, definitely, because when you have the what's it called? When you have the CH, which used to be marked with like a diacritic. No, it makes everything fucking illegible because you can't read it because there's a H where there should be a dot.
No, it's objectively a better system than modern English. It's just very synthetic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fucking, especially with Scots Gaelic, it's fucking illegible.
No, Scots Gaelic is just, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be pointlessly chauvinistic here. Scots Gaelic is literally Ulster Irish. It's just that when the Anglos were translating the Bible from English to Gaelic, they used wrong phonetics, so they spell everything fucking retarded. Sorry, Scots.
There's a lot of people that would dispute that, but
and unlike them, I actually speak and understand Scots Gaelic.
There's a dialect continuum between, from like Munster Irish to Scots Gaelic.
There is. They're basically the same language.
Well, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Both came from Old Irish, which stuff.
They all sound the same to me. Connacht Master Race.
Well, to be fair, though, right in the middle of that sort of perfect spectrum, you have the Outer Hebrides, which rather than being sort of this missing link between, Inner Hebridean Gaelic and Ulster Irish, you find it's, quite different again because it's, Norse Gaelic speaking.
Yeah, because because the only place where they still speak Gaelic language was Nordicized.
Sorry, this discussion is riveting and all, and but
Fair enough.
The comment section is pretty good. Here is like I like this Pusher. Are you ready? Mr. Bond writes, "These Europa Weekly guys are mostly alt-right fags, I think. Pusher is good though. I like Pusher." What do you say about that? You're officially endorsed by 1488 Kill All Kikes.
It's funny because I'm probably the most moderate person out of all of the panel.
Yeah.
I'm very moderate. I just want to kill all the non-Germanics, and then I don't care what the political system is.
Are Anglos Germanic, Faust?
No. This was proven unambiguously in the Second World War. Hitler made an ethnic appeal to the United Kingdom, which unfortunately retained its Norman character. They are not Germans.
There was another. The Second World War was also an example of the treasonous nature of the burger. Like all the Volksdeutsche in America refused to answer the call and rise up against the government.
Yeah, America's cursed. You dump civilized people on a barren land full with its wealth unexploited, and what do? They turn, as Young said, they turn into Negroes.
So once the European superstate is created, what should we do about America?
Hopefully it's never created.
Partition it. Give it to Ireland.
Yeah. No.
The
half
only
goes
people
to the
who can be
Japanese and
trusted
the
to
other
run it.
half goes to the Germans.
Oh yeah, I don't know that movie.
TV series, actually.
Oh fuck yeah!
I am Finnish. I can speak English. Hey, day.
Very good impression, man.
Yeah, just like me. I just listen to Barbie all the time, so
Barbie has a very weird.
He doesn't have an accent, really, does he? It's really weird.
So, I think I told him about this the first time I ever heard him on Voice. I was like, it's completely abandoning your accent is a form of cucking. Because you're letting another ethnic group basically decide how you pronounce your vowels. Him, giving up on his hard R's and other vocal sounds, just he's cucking to the British basically. So he becomes a spiritual Anglo in the sense that he speaks such accent-free English.
Yeah, we all know
He's
cucks
lucky.
give up the hard R.
He's lucky.
To be honest, guys, women shouldn't be allowed to go to school. They should all have funny accents. That's what I was thinking. I was just thinking it's the only reason to touch a foreign girl, is if they sound cute. Okay.
Is it an example of eternal Angloism that this chat is, and all of your episodes are conducted in the English language?
Yes.
You would say so?
Yeah, we should switch to
I would say
Latin,
so.
I think. We should switch to
That'll
Latin.
work. Or German.
I am in favor of German, yes.
What will happen
Now
to
let's
the
bound to some more super chats, lads. So, Mr. Bond says, you'll be approached when the time comes. Very ominous. It's like I'm already looking at out my window every day to see if there's an Antifa there. So you would want to look out if you're going to stand behind a lamppost wearing a long coat and a hat. You might get shot. Zonwending says Faust will smash all mud babies against the walls and tie the coal burners to radiators. Possibly. Can't confirm or deny.
Oh man.
We lad.
No,
guys, what we should do, I think we should go for rather than replacing English altogether, what you should do is go for a more dynamic and modern form of English. It's called Pidgin.
Yes, Haitian Creole Weekly, coming soon.
It's done be very similar to Day What Way Speak with the Cheddar Man time. Yeah.
God bless BBC Pidgin English.
It's the number one
that's-
site Europa Weekly gets their information from.
Frankly, that's just more efficient and more intelligible than RP, frankly.
Yeah. No. It's simplified English, right? And that's what we're all about here. We're about streamlining.
Exactly.
It's Germanic efficiency. We need to make the English language more efficient. Oh man.
No, actually, Germanic efficiency is about like gluing as many words together to make one new word.
Yeah.
So you make like 15 different words, you glue them all together, and then you pretend it's a new term.
And let's not forget that the beautiful language Old English was completely muttified by fucking pushers people. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that.
Pusher, basically, since Mr. Bond, since Mr. Bond basically speaks for you now that he's endorsed you, he says anti-siege is still anti-white though.
I'm proudly anti-white. Proudly anti-white.
And anti-white is anti-burger, which we endorse.
Yeah, love that.
Oh, man.
There you go. Dugin was right. We need to crush the white race.
Not Nussball now.
Dear Richard Spencer.
I'm not white, I'm English.
So, are you guys going to do another episode this week or not? Or we cover some of the news. Okay.
Who cares
so
about the news?
down.
Oh my god! As Mr. Bond said earlier this week, things we say on this show are retarded and ignorant. Okay, I completely agree with that.
News
Everything
is gay.
a racist podcast has ever told you is in fact retarded and ignorant. Go watch real news.
Why?
Because it's
then
fun.
why do a news podcast?
Yeah, no, I would counter signal that. I think that it's the news is what's quite interesting, and I would implore Horatio to cover a bit more of what's going on in the UK. I mean,
UK news is so fucking boring, dude.
It is, but I mean, some analysis and some kind of predictions of
final. I got a proposal for you, mate. Get someone else, and you can make the Albion Radio version of Fash the Nation.
I will.
You can.
I will do that.
Oh,
I will comment on.
Well, I mean,
you're in the UK.
You're technically Albionic, aren't you?
Yes, I'm in the made-up Albionic race, christened last week by you.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, that was actually me came up with that word.
I think we should have Phineas do a 23andMe and see if he doesn't have any Anglo blood.
As I said, Anglo's a mental disorder.
Sickle cell disease of the soul, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good one.
Do you guys embrace the term alt-right, or are you not a fan?
No.
It's
even
useful
before
as a general description, but otherwise, no.
Yeah,
even
what do
before
you
it became
instead?
unsalvageably gay, it was still used by Varoufakis in the parliament. So I don't want to go to prison. So
you call yourself, whatever's, good or
what is good? That's my question, because
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of
correct-
identitarian. That's a bit gay.
Do labels really matter that much? Is my question.
Generally,
Yeah, it does a bit.
They do for an identity. You need something to rally behind.
Yeah, the correct word is HBD positive. That's what it is.
yeah. The correct word is,
Which is not racist, all right?
Like-
I want to make that clear. It's not racist.
It's
correct word is
totally not
passionate about local
racist.
communities.
Taka.
If a normie ever asks you to define your political position with a label, you should always respond with something esoteric, gibberish, and then act as if he's supposed to know what that means.
Yeah,
So that when
Nazbol.
people ask, when people ask me, I say that I'm more of a reform Baath partyist.
Pan-Arab nationalist.
Yeah, because as soon as you label yourself as something of an outgroup that they have been taught and conditioned to hate, they will just shut down and start disagreeing with you. Based
Radical
on
anti-normie.
identity. Yeah, so you just label yourself as something esoteric, and then you continue as if nothing had happened. Continue arguing.
No, the best thing to do is to just appropriate symbols from movements in 1930s, and just use that name. Dress in uniform. That's the way to go.
If we do enough parades, then we'll win.
Yes, I'm gonna go for starting the Dutch Phalangist Party. I kind of dig the aesthetics, so I'm gonna go with that.
I'm a siege conservative.
Albionist.
I like that, siege conservatives. But I remember in Swedish politics they used phalangist as a slur, as an insult against the right-wing politicians, the moderates, back in the 90s and 80s.
Guys, I just went on Twitter and I saw the most hilarious thing. Libertarianism.org. Was the Haitian Revolution the most libertarian revolt in history?
Yes.
Is libertarian just becoming a synonym for like black, as Somalia is like the poster boy for the ANCAP state, you know?
Well,
Soon-
libertarian is the new word for gay.
Yeah.
It's actually, I don't know if you follow this, but it turns out that that fat guy dancing on stage at that Libertarian party event, you know,
Yeah.
he's an actual
Yeah.
communist, and he has infiltrated the youth wing of the Libertarian Party, and now they're basically just redefining libertarianism as communism. It's pretty goddamn funny. They disinvited Ron Paul and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is what
All right.
peak individual liberty looks like.
Okay, it's been fun, lads. I'm gonna drop out here.
All right.
See you later.
Yeah.
Thanks, lads.
Thanks for joining us.
Just
Thanks for
we have to
joining
ask. Just to conclude, we have to ask Pusher who he thinks won the debate, seeing as he's an impartial moderator.
Well, I think all of us won because it was an interesting debate. Is what I would say.
They
Yeah,
No,
gay.
Europeans won. Europeans won as usual.
I think we all lost because we haven't like fallen out terribly with each
Oh,
other.
yeah, but this
No.
is a shit blood sports. We lose.
the eternal Anglo conceded every point and every charge I made against them.
No, we
Because
we,
they
we,
weren't
Oh, you have a
serious,
good
because
point there, Feedy.
there's
Good point.
something more like, yeah, because I'm not interested in this whole American blood sports thing, and there's a nuanced position that you can take about this entire thing that isn't just like born out of chauvinism.
I literally said sink London below the fucking ocean.
Yeah, no, I
Holy
disagree with
shit.
that fucking obviously, but there wasn't any point in addressing that, is there, dude?
the eternal Anglo refused to argue, wrecked the whole thing, and therefore won.
Yeah. Yeah, we made the rules, so we win.
GG, easy, no re-e.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn, the comment section just turned on fire when some person called Armenian Chica came in and started calling Mr. Bond a faggot.
Oh, hello,
Jesus.
chickers.
Whoosh.
We know that guy.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. He's a nice kid.
Are you saying your friend?
Chickers.
Dude.
I know Armenian Chica, and he's not an Anglo. He's Irish.
Oh, is he?
No, he isn't. He's French.
Yes,
isn't he?
he's Irish.
Yeah, he's entirely French.
No,
yeah.
he's Armenian. Sorry.
No, sorry, he's Russian.
Yeah.
He was an Anglo.
Right, well, the English occupy the highest metaphysical caste, and they are the supreme being upon the earth. That's all.
The
I'll say.
English don't occupy any metaphysical
All
caste.
right. Well,
They
good
occupy
night, lads. See you later. No argument. No argument. I'm not hearing anything. There you go.
I like
Alright.
that he just goes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I take
suppose for a
satisfaction in
final
knowing that
statement.
one day we will. Yeah.
Sorry?
Well, my last statement would be: I take satisfaction in knowing that I don't have to debate you anyway, since the Germanic race will genocide all of you inferior people at one point in time anyway, and we
Yeah,
will
like
rule
you
over
did.
the globe.
Like you did so many times in the past, right?
Look, we keep trying. One day we'll succeed.
I suppose my final word would be let them hate us as long as they fear our perfidy.
Nice. All right. Okay, so you're the final Anglo here. So,
Yeah.
do you have any last words before you leave, or do you want to stay with us?
Before we execute you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, no hard feelings. Peace.
Yeah.
Great
Peace.
having you on. There we go.
So, lads,
Now we can start talking smack about them. Aren't the English gay, by the way? Did you hear this lisp? Oh my god, it sounded like such a fag. No,
Mr.
no,
Bond is
awesome.
accusing us of cucking in the chat.
Oh wow, is rain wet?
What? Yeah, when did he not do that?
Yeah, I,
what have we even cucked on?
I don't know.
I'll have you know, I'm sitting here in a goddamn SS uniform with a Hakenkreuz helmet on.
No.
How am I cucking?
I literally have like in front of me a 6,000 word essay detailing like how Anglo spread Jews all over the world. Okay, I'll post it in the chat if you want, Mr. Bond.
It's like if you don't call yourself a national socialist at the when people ask you what you are on the bus stop, and you constantly tell people to read Siege and mean it unironically and have lots of guns under your bed, then you're cucking. I mean that's the impression I'm getting from this guy.
If you don't show your firearms to the NYT, you're cocking.
Yeah.
You just need to go like that game where you can check out people's like what they've done in the past, and you start interviewing people on the street, and if they answer like, "Oh, I'm a furry, I'm gay," you just shoot them on the spot.
Oh, Watch Dogs, is it?
Yeah, Watch Dogs. Yeah.
All right, fellas. So what did you think? I think the Anglos did well,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It's like we don't have the American impulse to turn everything into a shit show.
Yeah.
And disagree with people. Is that a sign of weakness and decadence, or is that a sign
these
of
guys were
civilization?
far more eager to talk shit in the chat.
Yeah.
Well, of course, they wouldn't come with those like made-up statistics about Irish people on here because they know I BTFO them. Oh well.
All right. It's I think the Anglos being evil is a great meme. But generally I don't have anything against them so long as they stay on their island. That's my biggest.
Okay, Mr. Bond's right. Cocking.
Oh, right. That's cucking. Only genocide. That's the only position you can take. It's the only principled one in every case.
Yes. Well,
right.
Only for your own race, of course. I mean, you can just embrace your heritage as a Mongolian and go on a raping.
Yeah, I mean,
spree, genocidal spree.
It is 800 years ago since my forefather Genghis Khan burnt down the Muslim capital of the world, and we will do it again with London. The siege of Baghdad will be the siege of London.
All right, I posted the link to join the hangout in the chat, so let's see how this goes.
All right, let's see it.
Yeah, Mr. Bond, come on here and tell us how it's done. Come on.
Yeah. I want to hear this. This might actually become interesting.
I mean, the blood sport is not going to last for another 2 hours, but we can have a final segment where people can join in.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one's going to because they talk a lot of smack, but then they don't come on. It's my experience with it all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of like what they said about the Eworski show, that the people who are bitching the loudest about how can you platform these racists are the ones when asked to join. They never do.
Yeah.
It's like horseshoe theory. Like those Leibschitz are the equivalent, perhaps. If Mr. Bond doesn't show up, then he's just like horseshoe theory. He's just the alt-right version of that. He's just bitching in chat, but then doesn't show up when asked to. Maybe he tuned out. I don't know.
What I'm wondering is will he talk normally, or is he going to talk like exclusively in rap form?
Oh, that'd be nice. Like a poet, like he is.
Oh, hey, sir. Hello.
How's it going, ladies?
Hello, Hydrick.
Hi there.
Hello. So, introduce yourself, sir.
Ja, kennen wir uns?
Nein, das glaube ich nicht, aber ich sehe, dass du einen deutschen Namen hast.
Well. Hi, Leute.
Are you half German, half burger by any chance?
No. 100% Schnitzel.
Oh, you were Einheitsgruppe D on the forum or whatever that's pronounced. Oh, I remember you, dude.
Wait.
You do have an American sounding accent in English.
Yeah, I grew up in America. I moved there. I moved there with my mother when I was 5, and I came back when I was 17.
All right.
Right. But you're
what did
German,
you think?
I missed it. Everybody was leaving. I saw Bondi's post like 5 seconds ago.
Damn.
Well, you can listen to it back, I suppose, but you can't give any super chats for us to pound through.
Yeah.
Too bad I missed it.
Yeah, he was totally in here to defend Romanian supremacy. Like he came on his alt-right podcast. Like normally he's all about this CivNat kind of thing, right? But he came on here and he was totally talking about how Romanians are the superior race and we should genocide all the Slavic Bulgarians and so on. He gets really out there when he thinks nobody else is listening.
Well, the thing is Romanians aren't bad people. Like I was in Romania. I was in Romania about 6 months ago in Bucharest, and the people are pretty nationalistic there.
Yeah, but they're still gypsies.
It's like Eastern Europe tends to be that. They're much more communal, so that's why they're not as gay as Western Europe, because they actually still have these nationalistic values.
Well, the funny thing is about the Romanians, they like every taxi driver that I like anybody that I met went out of their way to make sure to tell me that they're not gypsies and that Romanians aren't gypsies, and those filthy people that are running around the streets begging for money aren't Romanians. It was actually really funny.
Still gypsies though.
Well, poor Romanians.
They deserve it. They've got like I talked to they're asking me to sing Erica on stream. Shall we do it?
Oh no. The
ein kleines Blümelein und das heißt Erika. Tum, tum, tum.
Herz ist voller
Süßigkeit.
Nice.
And now let's do the Horst Wessel. No.
Mr. Bond writes, Heydrich, speak for me. I'm off to the gym now. Bye. Really makes you think. As soon as you're invited, you have to bail.
Professional
Typical
racist
siege
rapper
poster.
with no microphone.
Typical siege poster.
Oh, hey, a newcomer has joined.
Hello, Tricia.
Hello.
Hello. Fuck, am I in? Fuck's sake. Wow. Fuck.
What did you think the link was for?
Oh shit, I'm in.
Random Irishman appears.
Fuck.
Yeah, he's gonna browbeat us now.
I can't use Hangouts.
Chica, you're live.
You're in.
Stop
We can
swearing.
hear you.
Oh, I can click on there. Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, you're in.
Yeah, you're in. Shut up. You're in now. Shut up.
Shut up. Listen here, buddy. Me, you, my local 3 p.m. lad. I'll call you Belland. You know, I'll sort you out, lad. All right. See that? No response.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to take a number because I already have a lot of Irishmen to fight any time that I go to Ireland.
Lad, my local 3 p.m. Sharp.
Anyway, Heydrich, what did you think? What do you think of the Anglo question?
Oh, I don't know. Like, the thing is that the Anglos are probably the worst thing that's happened to this planet next to niggers and kikes. I don't
Exactly.
It's hard to say on stream.
That's because you're a cock. Something I just wanted to nail them on, but I thought they'd be too BTFO to continue was, what have Jews ever done to me that Anglos haven't?
That would be a great argument, to be honest.
I mean, it says something about the Anglos when the Wikipedia has an article just about all the fucked up shit that they've done throughout history.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. It's called what is it called? Anglo Perfidy or something like that.
Perfidious Albion, I think. Yes.
There's a great Twitter account, Crimes of Britain, too.
Oh.
Very modern.
Is it headed by what's it called? An Irishman?
A certain
I think
Phineas.
it's a butthurt Palestinian, actually, but
Is that the Palestinian who runs AFA?
no, that's a different Palestinian.
They all look the same.
Oh man.
Our Minister of the Interior is married to a Palestinian. Yeah.
Where did they all come from? Like, why is it all Palestinians? It's bizarre.
I think Palestinian is just the identity the Arabs take on when they've got some kind of thing to grieve about being oppressed. Like, there are no real Palestinians. They just pretend.
Because it's difficult for them to LARP as American blacks. Because there are many discrepancies, so they can LARP as Palestinians being oppressed by Zog.
Everybody can LARP as American blacks. Everybody does it.
Yeah, but Arabs are pretty racist towards blacks, so it becomes difficult to do at some point. So.
But it's still weird. They still do it in America, though.
Yeah.
Oh, they do it in France as well.
Yeah. We should get based Islamic death squads to deal with the black problem, then we don't have to do it.
If you got to choose to be born in your next life as a Pole or an Anglo, what would you choose?
Pole.
Can I choose abortion?
Not in Poland.
Can a
If I'm
fetus
lucky,
choose?
if I'm lucky, I get born as a German Pole, so I'll take those odds.
Can I be a pro-choice fetus?
Just end my suffering, fam.
Make sure to hang myself on the umbilical on the way out.
Oh fuck, that's brutal.
Goodbye, cruel world.
Yeah, fuck that. I wouldn't want to be either.
Oh man.
No, but Pole is still better than Anglo.
Like one of them's a Jew and the other one's got the hand of the Jew up its ass. It's just a puppet.
We should definitely have Armenians on if we speak about the Polish question, because that guy literally despises them more than anything else. But it does make a good
hold
point.
on, I despise Polish people too.
Now the Poles. The
Slavs.
thing is, the Poles are just honestly, they're some of the shittiest people ever. I mean, there's good Poles, but they're Germans. So
Yeah,
you know?
it's true. Yeah, so it's like you can point to say, look at this Pole. He's so productive. He's straight up, and he's a great guy, a superb, great addition to the community. But then you do a 23andMe, and look, he's more than half German.
Yeah. I mean, there's that guy, and then there's the other guy, but you don't see him because he's wandering around in the dark, stealing the rims off of your car.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're here at stealing swans from the local lake so they can eat them.
What?
Did you not know that?
No.
Swans are a delicacy in Poland and Lithuania, and in most of the big lakes around Ireland, you see signs in like 10 Eastern European languages saying, "Please do not kill and eat the swans."
What the fuck?
It doesn't happen here, no.
It's actually I'm offended because the national bird of Finland is a breed of swan. If we let them in, they're gonna eat our swans. That's the best anti-immigration argument.
Like my favorite Europeans are Finns.
Thank you. That warms my heart to hear.
I've had a lot of
between brackets.
No, like honestly, I'd fight next to a Finn before I'd fight next to a Frenchman or an Anglo.
Tengri's blessings upon you, brother.
No, dude. Finns.
No, the Charlemagne division was pretty based.
Yeah, but
right, Pusher. You join us and fight the Ruskies, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd join just about anybody fighting the Russians, but whatever.
No, I don't make it a secret that I'm much of a Veraboo and I have a great affinity for Germans, and it is very nice to hear that the feeling is mutual from Germans I speak to as well here in the movement.
No, I mean, shit. You guys were fucking. You were putting down Russians like it was going out of style. It was just like, fuck.
Von Finnland bis zum Schwarzen Meer.
Yeah.
You guys know those stories about how after World War I ended and Germany had won on the Eastern Front, right? They maintained all these Freikorps in the Baltic states and tried to keep them part of the Reich. And they actually fought against the Red Army in Poland, and then the Poles backstabbed them. Filthy Poles.
No, the Poles would never do something like that.
Really?
Are you
can't trust?
What kind of filthy German propaganda are you reading?
All of it. I read all of the filthy German propaganda.
The Poles backstabbing? No.
Munition ist zu schwer.
Bleib immer hier.
Du lügst, du Polacke. I love that song so much.
Dude, seriously, like the Poles are fucking. Oh god, dude, the Poles. That I don't even know why there's still a Pole alive. Like after the shit that they pulled with us after World War I, dude.
Like, and on Ukraine as well. I mean, they like basically handed that to Russia.
Yeah.
Hearing doing that to us in an American accent triggers me severely.
Yeah.
No, you're not American. Fuck you. But no,
I can't.
You're actually German though.
Like the funny thing is I can't fake a German accent.
Yeah.
I can't. I just can't do it. I can't fake a German accent.
1, 2, 3, Polizei, 3, 4, Grenadier.
No, it's just because I can speak German properly and I can speak English properly. So it's hard to like. I don't know. Like I just can't. I can fake a Russian accent really good. I used to do that for the Bongo book.
Let's do that.
I need like about 3 beers and then we can go.
Well, the Anglos
if you want to hear my rush,
the Anglos should teach you how to do impressions. They seem to be good at that, like the shapeshifters they are.
yeah, like acting like humans or whatever.
Yeah.
God, fucking Anglos, dude.
Yeah, we need to shit on the French more, though. We haven't done that enough yet.
What is the best critique of the French? What is the worst of that?
Yeah, I'm curious.
No, they're gay wine-drinking faggots who like Arabs too much.
Cheese-eating surrender monkeys.
No,
that's the American criticism. We like
I like
cheese.
it, though.
We like cheese here.
I like cheese too, but
I think that it's the French affinity for just chimping out and overthrowing aristocracy and basically starting to you imported like North Africans to burn your cars for you because you were lazy, but otherwise you would be doing it yourself because you have like this sort of like need to chimp out.
That's not the correct criticism. The correct criticism of my fellow countrymen is that we have a very perverse infatuation with the Negroes for some reason.
Hey, can I answer a question from the audience? Yeah. Or talk. Yeah, Stephen James said hates Anglos, hates America, does podcast in English for English audience, New Judaism. No, you fucking idiot. It's because you faggots don't speak any other languages, so we have to fucking tell it to your face, or else you want to understand it. If somebody does go and translate, then they're talking behind our back.
No, we're missionaries. We're petitioning you to change your ways
or kill yourself or both.
Wir können auch das in Deutsch machen. Das ist kein Problem.
Ja, bin dich vor.
Ja, mach mal auf Deutsch.
Ja.
Dann wollen sie wieder.
Das Erste, was wir tun müssen, ist diese Französischen annexieren.
Yeah. Oh my God, there's I was watching like me and Bond, we were sending Tagesschau back and forth. And it was fucking like the jabs that we were making against the French was so good. Like basically you have all these surrendering soldiers, right? So just typical everyday French. And then there's just a bunch of like Congolese fucking just black Africans that are like dancing and shucking and jiving and doing whatever the fuck they're doing, right? And then like as it's panning across all these Negroes, right? The narrator's like, these are das sind die deutsche Kultur oder die französische Kulturträger. So basically like, and it's so, and this was like back in like in the invasion of France, and like so they were taking these massive jabs, and they kept on doing this. It's pretty funny.
It's like that old poster from like the 1800s where they show national stereotypes of colonial nations, where the German is measuring everything and ordering it and putting taxonomic tags on everything. The Englishman is just literally pressing the Negro under press to get money out of him while pouring Protestantism down their throat, and the Frenchman is just fucking everything.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think the Frenchman looks the way he does?
Oosh. I'm pretty sure Adolf Hitler wrote something about how the French would be the first African country in Europe.
That's true. Yeah, because
I mean, and it still is. They're head and shoulders above everybody except for England, maybe.
I don't understand. Can you like red pill us on this pressure? Like, why is it that out of all the ethnicities in Europe, the French seem to have some sort of affinity for these
country? Well, it's the blacks specifically, and
well, the thing
it's
is
most significant in Paris for some reason.
I'm sorry. Can I just check? Can you hear me?
Oh, right. Hello, boy.
Hello.
Great.
Welcome.
See, Kyle.
Hi.
Why is everybody looking for Kyle?
Subtle.
All right, the in-house Dane is here.
Yeah. I got an axe to grind with you people, but
Germany's hat is here to start trouble.
Nah, but you said some really stupid shit about Denmark last time, and I'd like to come on and set the record straight. I saw you had something called BLOODSPORTS, where you like meet and you fight with the other countries. I think I should come on the next one and, tell you guys about, let's call it the real notes, right?
All right. Well, you're on now, so go ahead, please. Red pill us on.
Well, it's just my friend told me. I didn't hear the entire episode, but my friend told me that someone called Denmark the bottom feeders, and that's pretty rich coming from like a French guy and a Finnish guy and an Irish guy, right? Because all countries have been raped by Danish men, right? And the Finns have even been like under the Danish,
and
king for like 5,000 years at minimum, right?
And you're absolutely right. By extension, they were raped by Germans because you're still our hat.
I have no idea what you're talking about, sir.
Never forget Holstein.
No, but that's the other thing. I wish there was a Swede on, right? Because then I would go into some other things with who kept the Germans at bay, right?
Well, that's too. You didn't keep us at bay.
I think we clearly did. That was the time we had.
Okay, Germany,
you did. Right?
You did keep us at bay for a whole 6 hours. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
no. You're way off. Listen.
It sounds like me. It sounds like this. It was the Anglo shit posting hours. Yeah. Next time we should do an inter-Scandinavian shit posting.
I should be on because
some of the Skyrim lads. Yeah.
I have my Danish friends calling me and telling me like, oh, I love Europa Weekly, but they're shitting on the Danes, and I know why they're doing it. It's because of me, right, in the chat. And I have to defend. I have to bring my perspective, right?
Yeah, but
I think I belong.
Go ahead. See, what we said is basically that we were talking about Scandinavian countries, and we said that after Sweden, which is the most relevant Nordic country, and I said that Denmark is never going to be the most relevant because it's just a big sandbank. It's they're so shut in, they're very irrelevant.
Yeah.
And then I went into talking about, well, just as Arminius had said back on Discord, that the Danes have some sort of inferiority complex because they haven't been relevant for over 1,000 years, and afterwards they've been cucked by the Norwegians, by the Swedes, by the Germans, by the English, by
600 years ago. Who ruled Finland? Who is the king of Finland?
I would say Sweden.
Oh, come on! I wouldn't say cucked. You're just living at one of your brother's houses. I would say it more like that. Yeah. Because we're all your brothers. Come on.
Yeah. By the way,
guys, being the resident Seiju, I see a very good marketing opportunity here. Like how the Bloodsports with Andy Worski are like ideological. We could do like European internecine conflicts every week.
Yeah,
we'll have to go through there, so we could just do an episode every week on this.
Dude, I could come on. I could come on every week because I hate everybody except for my guy.
I remember your voice from.
Me?
Yeah, I've talked to you before.
Bongo Book Club, maybe.
Are you Arminius friend?
Also, yeah.
Yeah, I remember you. Okay. Very nice. But yeah, I didn't want to cut off your conversation, but I just think that someone should come on at least one time and represent the real, like, let's call it the real Vikings, right? Not the
Germans.
I mean, I don't know. Germans, were they Viking? I don't think so.
No, we were land raiders.
Yeah.
Since you're Danish, how do you feel about the Anglo oppression of your people when they were peacefully settling the Danelaw?
Yeah, I've heard the story. Like I put the Google on my blind eye and all that. But I mean, what are you gonna do, right? We don't hate the Anglos as much as you guys. We actually kind of like the Anglos because essentially, who created the Anglos? The Danes, right? So. We don't hate them as much as you guys.
Goy, a Danish commenter on our last episode when I talked about Denmark said that me attacking Denmark verbally is the same thing, is exactly like the English Navy's bombardment of Copenhagen in 1807. My bands are as powerful as British naval artillery.
It sucks. I'd say it sucks to be Denmark. Yeah, the Brits bomb us, the Germans roll in. It's tough to be the gatekeeper of Scandinavia, and we don't get any thanks. Let me tell you, man. The Swedes hate us so much.
You did so good things. You got incorporated into the Greater Reich. Is that not thanks enough?
I don't know. What do you mean get incorporated into the Greater Reich? You mean during World War II?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but that was like wasn't exactly what I was referring to. But
Don't worry, it'll happen again.
yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe it will be the other way around this time. My Deutsche Freund.
Vielleicht. You're gonna have to start breeding. You're gonna have to have so many dudes. You're gonna be stacking them on top of each other.
We don't need so many dudes, man. I mean, the Vikings were like.
Come on, you're not Finns.
A few Viking ships. Yeah, we've had the Finns under our crown. You know, we don't have to.
Yeah, at the time when Denmark's population was 20 times as large as Finland's, because it generally takes 20 Danes to fight one Finn.
Excuses all day, but the land that you sit in was a Danish king's land. What can I say?
There was never a Dane who set foot on Finland.
There's a city called Viborg or something in Finland. Did you know that?
It's a Russian city.
I suggest we actually have a specific episode on this because this can go on for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do that in the future.
Give a Finn a fish and a sharp stick, and he'll just fuck up all your shit.
Where's the lie? Where's the lie? Come on, man.
But I'm curious. Did the Finns? They didn't have a population, and then they started mass populating and became the same population size as the rest of the Scandinavian countries. Or I haven't heard this before.
No, the Finns have sisu. They don't need anything else.
Yeah. Come on, man. So.
All right, lads. We'll have to wrap up the stream now.
Yeah, I'm actually getting really tired. Okay. It's 11 p.m. here.
Even though I've been doing nothing all day, but okay.
So I'd like to thank the people who watched us. Follow us on SoundCloud, Europa Weekly, the YouTube channel, even if we only do live streams there. The Twitter account at Europa_weekly. What else? I think that's it, pretty much.
We are doing a regular episode tomorrow, aren't we?
Yeah.
And don't forget to watch behind your ears, kids.
Right.
Exactly. Yes.
Good stuff.
All right. And with that, we'll see you tomorrow evening when we publish the regular Europa Weekly episode. And that's it.
See ya.
Bye.